Who has the truck?
I do.
Because he stole the key.
I'm not going to give her the truck.
A fed-up ex puts his foot down.
I filed for a restraining order for harassment.
Tell me why.
Miss Smith was sending me derogatory and nasty emails.
Let me see them.
But will her persistence pay off?
So she said, I'm planning on taking you to Judge Judy for the truck. Let the entire country know what a dirtbag you are.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Christiana Smith is suing her ex-boyfriend, Robert Wilson, for unpaid rent, medical bills, the return of property, a false restraining order, and threats.
Order. All rise. It's case number 195 on the calendar in the matter of Smith versus Wilson.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Miss Smith, I've read your complaint very carefully. It appears that you and Mr. Wilson were a couple. You moved with him from Oklahoma to Las Vegas, Nevada.
Correct.
And he promised you the moon, that he would take care of you, that he would provide you with health insurance, that you were going to remain a couple. And after you arrived in Las Vegas, the situation changed, so you left. Are you still in Las Vegas?
No, I went back to Oklahoma.
And it is your claim that you believe Mr. Wilson owes you for all the broken promises that he made, that he would provide you with insurance because you got sick, you went to the hospital, and now you have hospital bills, and that he kept some of your property, and for filing a false police report because he says that you were stalking him. So let's start out with the things that are simple. What month and year did you move from Oklahoma to Las Vegas?
June 2017.
And when did you move back to Oklahoma?
July 2018.
And at what time did Mr. Wilson leave the apartment where you two were living together?
June 3rd.
Of 2018?
Correct.
And what items do you claim that he took from the apartment that belonged to you when he left?
So on June 3rd, he removed my truck key.
A key to a truck?
My truck key.
Just a second. Who has the truck?
I do.
Because he stole the key.
And Your Honor?
And you have the key?
Yes, ma'am.
In whose name is the truck?
It is in both our names.
I'm the main signer.
He has the truck, he has the key. What else does he have that belongs to you?
A month later, he removed 2 motorcycle helmets, female motorcycle helmets.
And they belonged to you?
I'm female.
What?
I'm female, he's not.
No, that's not my question.
Yes.
I said, did they belong to you? Did
Yes,
you have a
they're
motorcycle? Did you have a motorcycle?
We had a motorcycle.
The two of you?
No, ma'am.
Shh. Was it a motorcycle that the two of you rode together? One
Yes.
motorcycle?
Yes.
Who has the motorcycle?
I sold it in April.
You had it?
Yes, ma'am.
And I assume, since it's not the subject of this, you owned it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you took the helmets that went with it?
Correct.
Do you have a motorcycle?
No.
What else are we here for?
Neither does he.
Key and 2 helmets. Forget it. Next.
He also removed a tent that I bought.
A tent?
$100 tent out of our storage.
Next.
Rent for 1 month for the apartment we were staying in. Since he left, he had a key, he had access, and part of his belongings in our apartment.
What did you do with his belongings?
What could I do? I left them there.
Okay. Now, any property that you've just mentioned, the key to the truck that he has that's not before me, the motorcycle helmets that you have zero use for because you have no motorcycle, a tent that cost $100, and now we're at rent, and you're not claiming that he was there, you're claiming his things were there, and you left in July, according to you, just left his things there when you left in July.
No,
he wasn't
ma'am.
living there.
I was still there until basically I got evicted, and his name was on there too.
You got evicted. Just a second. Pay attention. You got evicted for what?
For non-payment of rent because I got really ill.
Just a second. So if you didn't pay rent, what are you asking for rent for?
I did pay rent for over a month.
Okay. Now, you have to tell me why you filed an order of protection against Miss Smith, because part of her lawsuit, the only part that's left here, is for filing a false restraining order against her.
Yes, ma'am.
So I want you to tell me why you filed a protective order against her and what happened to it.
I filed for a restraining order for harassment because Miss Smith was sending me all kinds of derogatory and nasty emails.
Let me see them. Mr. Wilson, while I'm taking a look at those things, I want you to tell me, what is your intention with this truck where her name is on the loan?
Right now, I'm looking into refinancing it or possibly trading it in on another vehicle.
Well,
so she can be removed from it.
You've had the truck now since June.
Yes, ma'am.
June, July, August. We're now at the end of September. And if I were to call the finance company, would they tell me you're up to date in your payments?
Yes, ma'am.
Then there is no reason why you can't refinance this in your own name to get it out of her name. She should not have to have this on her head that you're driving around in a truck and she has to worry about you insuring it and making payments on it.
Correct.
Well, when are you going to do that, sir? Not looking into it. You've had 4 months to look into it.
Well, I've been working on rebuilding my credit. The reason why she was on there, and I also have a Facebook post where she acknowledges that she co-signed for me.
I don't care. I'm not.
And the dealership.
All I'm saying to you, sir, is that you've had 4 months to look into it.
Yes, ma'am.
And if you have lousy credit, give her the truck.
I'm not going to give her the truck.
Listen to me carefully, sir. There is no reason for you not being together with her to put her credit in any jeopardy because how old are you?
53.
Well, if you're 53 and didn't have reasonable enough credit to buy a truck on your own, which is what you told me just now, because you needed her to co-sign for you so that you could get credit, why in the world would she want to rely on you to make payments on the truck? Because if you have lousy credit, that means that you didn't pay certain bills on time or at all, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So when are you going to do that, sir?
As soon as I get home, I'll go to my bank and see about refinancing it.
Why haven't you done that in the last 4 months?
That's where I just been too busy doing other things.
Like what?
Moving on with my life.
Ma'am?
Shh. Okay, so she said, I'm planning on taking you to Judge Judy for the truck. Let the entire country know what a dirtbag you are. Well, there you go. Okay. Now, Mr. Wilson, you wrote to her, I need to be taken off the paperwork over there.
Yes, ma'am, off the apartment.
Why would you want to be taken off the paperwork, sir?
So I would not be responsible for the rent.
For the lease.
Well, we were living in an extended stay apartment. And they
just a sec. You understand why I'm laughing?
Yeah.
You understand why I'm laughing? You understand why they're all laughing? That you understand right away. You wanted to be taken off from the lease.
Yes, ma'am.
But not from a truck loan. That you didn't understand for 4 months because you were busy getting on with your life. And that's what she wrote to you that you claim formed the basis of your application for a protective order.
No, ma'am, I have more.
Okay. I'd like to see him because none of that impresses me.
I've got this social media post that she sent to my family members.
May I see it, please?
And then also she...
Just a second. Just a second. Not an also. You know, I'm a slow learner. I can only do one thing at a time. Oh, so she posted this thing. You know, he hides money, check is always less than expected. He grows facial hair. He grows cold and distant. He stops wanting to do things together. These are helpful hints so you'll know when he wants to move on. The only thing here is receiving emails from friends that he is sending them new pictures with the offending picture enclosed in front of a full-length mirror.
He did.
What is that?
He did.
That's false.
That is not false. That
show
is
me.
true.
Show me.
That was
show me.
That was when we first started dating.
Just a second. So that's when you first started dating before you moved from Oklahoma to Nevada,
yes,
and then you moved from Oklahoma to Nevada with him.
It was a lady from North Carolina.
Next. What's
and then,
next?
After she moved to Oklahoma...
Just a second. All I want to know is, what was the next reason? So far, I'm unimpressed with any of these.
For the restraining order?
Correct.
When she moved back to Oklahoma, she has a rideshare rental car, and she has to bring back to Vegas every so often to have it inspected. She would drive through my apartment complex and stalk me, take pictures of my truck saying, oh, yeah, you still live here, and things like that.
Show me.
May I say?
No, this is his burden.
I don't think I brought that with me, ma'am.
Okay, well, that's your burden. And I assume that the application for a protective order was denied.
Yes, it was.
Of course it was denied. How do I know that? Do you think that I'm a soothsayer? Miss Smith, what I'm going to do is, I believe that he had no right to file a protective order based upon this stuff that he showed me, which is really the two of you fighting over the payments he made on the truck. He wants to be off the lease, but he doesn't see the equation between your name being on a truck loan, and you have good credit, and his name being on a lease, and he's got lousy credit. So he doesn't... something that wasn't registering to him. And I think that the filing of the restraining order based upon this nonsense was absolutely outrageous. I'm awarding you $500 for filing a false restraining order. We're done. We're done.
May I say one more thing? He literally left me dying on the bathroom floor.
We're done. Listen to me.
Okay.
You're sick. He's not responsible for your sickness.
He promised me insurance and marriage.
We're done.
Why is that excuse? May step out.
This guy basically lied to me financially.
Miss Smith is a woman scorned.
Emotionally and physically ruined me.
And what's funny is...
And just wanting to other women.
She's so upset about me leaving and all that.
Don't take people's word. Don't trust them. Don't believe them.
She's engaged to the guy she's living with now that she keeps running back to in Oklahoma.
I hope I never hear or see from him again.
You know, I've been done. I've been over it. I moved on. I'm much happier now.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Brown versus Butler. Step forward.
23-year-old Anthony Brown is suing hat designer Kyle Butler for a refund for hats he purchased on behalf of his grandmother.
Mr. Brown, you have ordered some custom-made hats. I see that that's what these are.
Yes,
from the defendant in the past. How many hats have you ordered from him?
Probably about 5.
And you've had to have been happy and satisfied with his workmanship because you kept ordering them.
Yes, ma'am.
You recently ordered another hat, and you already had a hat that had to be resized. You ordered another hat and paid for it. What was that hat supposed to look like?
It's supposed to have been a dome shape with 2 hat pins and a veil on it.
And where did you get the inspiration for that?
Just looking at like previous work that he's done, and just that's something that my grandmother, she wanted for her day to wear for appreciation service.
So you get these hats for your grandmother?
She's a first lady.
How old is she?
She's 67.
She loves hats?
She loves them.
How many does she have?
A lot. It's a lot.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He called my hats ugly. Yes, he did.
He what?
He called my hats ugly.
Oh, why did you call his hats ugly?
This is not what I paid for.
He said they were ugly, and he inquired about that one. That was why I sent it.
And when I inquired about it, it's still not worth the same amount of money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Anthony Brown says hat designer Kyle Butler owes for a refund for hats he never received. Kyle is countersuing for slandering him on the internet.
So you get these hats for your grandmother?
She's a first lady.
How old is she?
She's 67.
She loves hats?
She loves them.
How many does she have?
A lot. It's a lot.
The one that had to be resized was which hat? Can I see it, please? And is that the one that he ordered?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any sort of photograph of the one that you wanted him to make for you?
He did not send me a photo of the hat that he's supposed to be made.
Okay, and this hat was the one that you wanted?
I previously ordered.
And paid for?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had it in your possession, you mailed it back to him?
And when I mailed it back, I put $500 of insurance on it, and I have the receipt here.
I'd like to take a look at it. How much did you pay for this hat?
$445.
You certainly are masterful. Okay, so he insured the hat that he sent to you to be resized for $500. Did you receive it?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you resize it?
Yes, ma'am.
And the new hat that he had ordered, he also paid for?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much did he pay for that hat?
I believe it was about $380.
Is that right?
$390.
And you made him that hat?
Yes, ma'am.
And you shipped both hats back to him?
I did.
And you put $100 of insurance on both hats?
Yes, ma'am.
And he never got the hats?
He did not.
When you sent him the previous hats, the ones that he did receive, because he received 5 altogether, right, from you? How did you insure them?
Usually, when I insure the hats, it's the standard insurance, which is included in the price of the hat. And it's just the basic standard insurance.
Well, this additional insurance that covered the full amount of the hat, or even more, only cost $3.50. Did you send the 2 hats in one box or 2?
One box.
So you had approximately $800 worth of hats. that you didn't put additional insurance on. You could have insured them because you knew how much they cost for the full amount, which would have cost you $3.50.
No.
$3.49. Yes, that's what it would have cost you. $3.49. Or if you insured both, it would have cost you $7 for insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't you think that was a good idea?
No, ma'am, because I wasn't supposed to be overnighting this package. I had already gone over the budget of the hat to ship the hats overnight. The hats were already late. What I do takes a certain amount of time and effort. And what I did for him, which I wasn't supposed to be doing, which was I overnighted these hats already.
Listen, you didn't have to accept the job.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You advertise online?
Yes, ma'am.
And he wrote something negative about your company after this happened.
He said some very negative things.
No, tell me what he said.
I don't remember the post, but there is a video.
Let me see.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Anthony Brown says hat designer Kyle Butler owes for a refund for hats he never received. Kyle is countersuing for slandering him on the internet.
Listen, you didn't have to accept the job, so you can't complain now that you accepted the job and then you had to overnight the hats. All you had to do was say to him, listen, the new hat that you ordered, I can't get back to you in time, and the resizing one isn't easy. I can do that. That's not a big problem. But the new one that you want, I can't get back to you, and either I'm not going to take the order, but you didn't want to lose his business.
It was already in process because he had paid me in increments. He sent the last payment for the order the week of his event.
And?
He did not tell me he was going to do that. So I wasn't sure if I would be able to do it, but I'm usually able to move quickly, Your Honor. I do what I do, and I'm great at it.
Great. Terrific. You should have insured the hats. You didn't get the hats.
No, ma'am.
Neither one. The one that you paid for?
No, ma'am.
That was to be resized, or the one that cost $390?
No, ma'am.
You did get a $100 insurance check.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. And I do have the check stub if you would like.
You cashed it?
Yes, ma'am.
The two hats that you had were $835 together. You got $100 back.
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $735. We're finished.
Wait,
Thank
Your
you.
Honor, I have a countersuit.
Yeah, I know you do.
Okay.
You want to show it to me? You advertise online?
Yes, ma'am.
And he wrote something negative about your company after this happened.
He tagged me in not one, but two posts.
Because he wasn't responding.
Just a second. And he said?
He said some very negative things.
No, just tell me what he said.
I don't remember the post, but there is a video. I don't remember the post, but he went on in an 11-minute rant on social media about my business.
That it was bad? Or
yes.
That it was bad, or that he didn't get his property?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, ma'am.
That it was bad? Well, he couldn't say it was bad because he had used...
He called my hats ugly. Yes, he did.
He what?
He called my hats ugly.
Oh, why did you call his hats ugly?
This is not what I paid for. He said I didn't know he was sending these two hats.
Is that what you sent instead of the hats?
I sent them as replacements to try and make up for the fact that the post office hasn't sent his stuff to him yet.
Yeah, he can have. I don't want them.
Yeah, fine.
He said they were ugly, and he inquired about that one. That was why I sent it.
And if not inquired about it, it's still not worth the same amount of money.
No, just give it back to him. He's allowed to comment. Mr. Butler, he's allowed to comment if he's dissatisfied with your service.
Yes, ma'am, but he's not allowed to drag my business on social media like that and tag me in these actual things. It wasn't right.
Show me. It may not have been right, but he's allowed to do that
Show
if you advertise.
I have the video.
Let me see.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Mr. Butler, he's allowed to comment if he's dissatisfied with your service.
Yes, ma'am, but he's not allowed to drag my business on social media like that and tag me in these actual things. It wasn't right.
Show me. It may not have been right, but he's allowed to do that
Show
if you advertise.
I have the video.
Let me see.
Here you go, sir.
He is allowed to do that. He's not allowed to say that you're a burglar, but he's allowed to say you have ugly hats. And he's allowed to say he didn't get his property and that you took his money. He's allowed to say that.
But I didn't do that.
Yes, you did. I'm telling you that you should have insured the hats for what they were worth.
I don't agree.
I don't care whether you agree.
Because it's still not the right items, still not the what I paid for.
What's wrong with that?
A showstopper in this little ugly hat. She probably not even gonna wear. Yeah, I'm still upset.
Okay. We're done.
Because
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
$735. We're done.
Why is that excused and they step out?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I have a right to do anything that I want to do. I mean, we live in America.
I think it was unfair. I think it was wrong.
I'm ready for a new hat, and it will not be by Cal Butler.
I feel like I did the best possible job to the best of my ability.
I love Judge Judy.
And I was wrongfully accused of doing something that I did not do.
And I'm glad that I'm getting my money.
He should have not done that on social media. Period.
Your neighbor asked you to move the camera. Why didn't you move it?
A matter of privacy over security.
She never asked me to take the cameras down. She called the police on me first.
She has a right to be annoyed with you, sir.
Then a bright idea came into focus.
What she did was she put in a light.
Manny.
The light interferes with his camera taking pictures.
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
I was trying. I wasn't sure.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Terry Tadia is suing her neighbor, Mark Paytas, for trespassing and for invasion of privacy as a result of pointing surveillance cameras into her backyard.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 367 on the calendar in the matter of Tadia versus Paytas.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Paytas, you and the plaintiff are neighbors.
Yes.
How long have you been neighbors?
26 years, a little over, I believe.
Who do you live with?
My wife and my daughter on occasion.
Now, in what year did you install spotlights around your house?
I did not install spotlights. I installed cameras, video cameras, surveillance cameras.
Okay.
In 2017.
So you installed cameras,
Yes.
not lights?
Not lights, no.
And where did you position them?
I have a picture I'd like to show you,
I'd
if I
like
could.
to see it.
They're on the front corners of my home. There's quite a few pictures here that Roseville police took.
No, I asked you a simple question.
I'm trying to get the
expect
right
a
ones
simple
for you,
answer.
Your Honor.
Good. Thank you.
I presented that to him.
Yes.
To the court.
Okay. And would you tell me what prompted you in 2017 to install the cameras? Just
Well, my
your
wife
own
and I...
for your own security? Don't tell me about your wife.
It wasn't for our own security. My wife and I kept finding used condoms.
Don't tell me what your wife kept finding.
Okay, well, I kept finding used condoms in my backyard right over her fence. That and it was coming from her youngest daughter, Tara, and her boyfriend. And along with that, he was selling drugs out in front of the house, and that was getting way out of hand.
Did you have a discussion with the plaintiff about that?
I haven't spoke with the plaintiff in years. No, ma'am, I have not.
Did you make a police report about the drug activity in front of the house? That's either a yes or a no.
No.
So you have no police report that you filed, nor do you have any video, I assume, to show me, or any photograph to show me prior to the installation of the cameras as to why you installed them.
Correct, I do not.
But it's within your right to install cameras in your property as long as they do not invade anyone else's property and privacy. Ergo, this case. Because the plaintiff says that one of the cameras is not directed on your property, but includes her property. And she wants it down or restructured to merely show what is on your property.
I have a couple more pictures I'd like to share with you.
Sure.
This is what my camera shows in my home, all four of the pictures, so you can see what it does, specifically hers and what she doesn't like. And then what I think is most...
What I want you to show me, Mr. Paytas,
Yes.
is with a pen that Officer Byrd will provide you if you don't have one of your own. I want you to make a circle around the photographs of her property that your camera can see.
It's in just one... Oh, yeah.
I'd like to see it.
Actually, there's two of them. I don't have a pen.
Two. Okay.
One of them is enlarged, so you get a real good look.
Just make a circle.
But this is the enlarged. There you go. Your pen didn't work very well. Thank you. I have one more photo that I'd like you to see, Your Honor.
No, just 1 second.
That's all four of them.
This
Yeah.
is her property.
Correct.
This is where one of your other cameras.
Correct.
Okay, but that's also the public street.
Right.
And that's in front of, this would be your house, this would be her house?
Correct.
Okay, I don't find that objectionable at all, actually. This.
Not out.
I don't find that objectionable at all. What?
When I was speaking with his wife, they admitted
Don't tell me what they admitted. Just be quiet. Just be quiet.
Can I see that to make sure I do agree? It's in the front of his house?
Yes.
I do not have any problem with this as invading your privacy. This is potentially, it shows the street, it shows where the cars are, and it shows a piece of your front lawn. Do you want to look at it closer?
Yes. Please. I don't have a problem with this picture. I don't have a problem with this picture.
Right. Those are pictures of the front of the house.
Right.
Somebody was doing something wrong. If there was an accident in the street, that's a good surveillance camera, and it's not necessarily interfering with your property. It's right in the front.
Correct.
Your problem is with the picture of your backyard.
Yes.
Okay? And now your camera, sir,
Yes.
can be positioned in such a way, because this is your house in here, I assume.
To the left.
This is your house.
No, that's her house.
This is her house.
That's her house.
Oh, this is her house.
Yeah. That's
and this
my house.
is your house?
That's my house to the left.
This is your house?
Yes. And if you notice, Your Honor, how you can see the left side of my house on the left? Well, if I push the camera all the way towards the house, which she would like, I get an awful glare and you can't see anything on the
That's
cameras.
too bad. That would count under the category of too bad.
I would like to share one more photo with you, please.
Sure.
This is outside of my kitchen window.
Sure.
That's the view I get outside of my kitchen window.
That's what you get out of your kitchen window.
Well, I'm not sure how she could claim that her backyard is private and when I can see that out of my kitchen window. I'm simply just trying to...
Your house has been there. You've been neighbors for 26 years. She doesn't want her backyard or her children when they're in the pool, or her family and friends. She doesn't want their photographs within your control. And it's a perfectly reasonable request for you to adjust the camera or move the camera so it just takes in your yard. So you can see if somebody's coming into your house, if somebody's skulking up your driveway. It's not an unreasonable request. We're perfectly reasonable people, sir. Even though this takes into consideration part of her front lawn, there's a legitimate purpose in finding out if somebody is being mugged, if somebody is in an automobile accident. It's a surveillance. But you can't surveil someone's backyard. There is a big difference.
Your Honor, I checked with my...
I don't care what you checked with. I don't care who you checked with. I'm telling you, if one of my neighbors had a camera positioned so that it had the view of my pool, and it's true that they could sit in their kitchen window or their bedroom window with glasses and look to see who was in the pool, how I looked in my bathing suit, whether I had cellulite, who I was with. It's true that they could do that. There is a difference, however, of them having a camera and photographing that. It's the same way that you feel invaded when somebody takes a drone picture of your house, hovers around your house with a drone. Now, sometimes if you're a celebrity, you have to get used to things like that because you've made your life an open book. Last time I looked, she wasn't a celebrity. So she has a right to be annoyed with you, sir, for positioning your camera so that you can take pictures of her backyard and her pool. And if you were any sort of reasonable person, if she made that known, you would move it. So you didn't move it. And what she did was she put in a light.
Manny.
Is that what you put in?
Yes, I did put in.
And the light interferes with the light interferes with his camera taking pictures.
No.
Doesn't?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
I was trying. I wasn't sure.
That's too bad. I mean, you have that as part of a counterclaim, that the light shines into your window and it irritates your wife.
It's into, the yard. I also have another picture, Your Honor. I have a lot of them. Your Honor, she's been harassing me for like 2 years, and I have evidence, and I'd like to share it with you.
I don't care. Change the camera. Was she harassing you prior to 2017 when you put in the... Pay attention to what I said. Was she doing anything to annoy you that I would be interested in prior to you putting in the cameras?
Yes, this has been going...
Just a second. Tell me, prior to putting in the cameras, what she was doing to harass you.
She swears drunk back and forth on her other side of the yard when we're having parties and kids. And
what?
She gets drunk and muddles behind under her breath loud enough for all of us to hear it and cranks the music when we're having kids' parties in our backyard. My witness can...
Yes.
So stuff like that, and it's just constant, Your Honor. She put up a rubber glove holding the finger. This was up all summer long on a broomstick.
Which summer? After?
Last summer, just last summer.
You mean after she asked you to take down the camera?
She never asked me to take the cameras down. She called the police on me first. And there are...
So that you knew...
I have a couple of police reports I'd also like to share with you.
So that you knew she wanted the camera down?
Yes, I did.
So in order to negate the hostility, why didn't you reposition the camera so that it wouldn't be taking photographs of her backyard and her pool area?
And I checked with the city manager, and he told me that
Don't tell me what the city manager told you. Your neighbor asked you to move the camera. Why didn't you move it? Your neighbor asked you to move it.
The police told me I didn't have to, and I was not ticketed. I checked with my attorney, and he also said that I did not have to.
You're not following my question.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You should move the camera. That's what I think. I think that you're being obstinate. Check with your attorney, check with the city. I don't have to move it, and I don't care what you want. If it makes you uncomfortable, who cares?
And later today...
You were using it as a wedding venue. You took their money.
No.
You took their money.
They asked to have the reception there.
Are you out of your mind? Don't you understand? You have to think before you speak.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Terry Tadia says neighbor Mark Patus is invading her family's privacy by pointing surveillance cameras into her backyard. Mark is countersuing for attorney fees and harassment.
Now, your neighbor asked you to reposition the camera so it was not photographing her backyard and her pool, and you didn't do it. I have neighbors all over the country. If I were doing something that irritated my neighbor, or if one of my kids was doing something that irritated my neighbor, I would try to do my best to deflect that, because everybody is entitled to peacefully enjoy their property, right?
Agreed.
And if she was not permitting you to peacefully enjoy your property because she was creating a disturbance, then once discussed with her, say, listen, I'm having a party here, it's getting too loud over there, could you put it down? Then you file a noise complaint, right?
Yes.
Because then she wasn't doing the right thing. Did you ever do that?
No, Your Honor.
No. So what I'm telling you is, she's right. You should move the camera that's recording what's going on in her backyard. That's what I think. And I don't care about the harassment. I think that you're being obstinate. Check with your attorney, check with the city. I don't have to move it, and I don't care what you want. If it makes you uncomfortable, who cares? I'm telling you, it's not the right thing to do. Front camera, fine. I don't find any objection to that. It encompasses a small piece of her property, but not where she has an expectation of privacy, because it also abuts a public street and a public walkway. So she has no expectation of privacy in the front portion of her yard. But she has an expectation of privacy in the backyard that is fenced, and you're interfering with that. That's what I think. And I don't care what your city manager thinks, and I don't care what the cop that came to your house thinks. She has an expectation of privacy there that you're interfering with, and you should move the camera. And I'm going to award her money until you do. And I'm dismissing your counterclaim. You can come back every month or so, $1,000, judgment for the plaintiff, move the camera, we're done. Thank you.
Pardons are excused. You may step out.
I think it's a very good decision.
I'm glad that there's closure finally.
The assistant prosecutor sent Mark a letter stating for him to move the camera.
I got a very threatening letter from the city prosecutor, yeah.
He don't listen to nobody. That's the type of person he was.
You live next to her.
And now...
It's back.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Tauzier versus Minnick. Step forward.
22-year-old Megan Tauzier and her mother, Candy Tauzier, are suing Megan's ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old Gage Minnick, for a security deposit, the return of horse riding jeans, and unpaid rent.
Miss Tauzier, you're 20 years old. You met him on some sort of a dating app. He's 19 years old when you met. You knew each other for a few months. I assume you were living at your mother's house, and you were living at your mother's house. Is that correct? Well, that's where 19-year-old boys usually live. And you decided when you were 20 and he was 19 that you would move out of your parents' house and go and live together. And he was 19 and he was going to get a job. And you were 20 and, according to you, said, I decided to go to school full-time and he was going to get a job at 19. They can't find their way out of the front door when they're 19. They don't know how to do the laundry when they're 19. They don't know how to care for themselves when they're 19. So you lived in one apartment first and didn't have the security deposit, so you put down the security deposit, $500, which is part of what you want back, because he was supposed to take care of everything. He was supposed to take care of you while you went to school. Is that what you wrote?
Yes.
Joke. And then, according to what you wrote, the apartment, he didn't like the apartment. He didn't think it was good enough for the two of you. Listen, most 19-year-old boys could live inside a closet that contained nothing but dirty socks. Very rarely do they care about whether they have 1 or 2 bathrooms. They can actually go on a tree.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did anybody pay the $1,990?
I did, Your Honor.
Did you?
I did.
Did you pay anything?
No, I didn't. I had taken myself off the lease. We both signed a paper that took my name off the lease and made me not liable for anything.
I don't care!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Megan Towser says ex-boyfriend Gage Minnick owes for her share of a security deposit, the return of her jeans, and rent. Gage is countersuing for Megan's share of an early lease termination fee.
Now, what you wrote here was that he wanted a nicer apartment.
No, ma'am,
anyway,
that's actually incorrect. She wanted the nicer apartment. She didn't like the old one.
Usually it's girls that don't like the apartment. Anyway, you moved into another apartment. You weren't working. He couldn't maintain the other apartment because it was more expensive than
it was
the first.
cheaper.
Yes, ma'am.
It was cheaper than the first apartment.
Cheaper. Couldn't maintain it. And you weren't working.
Yes, I was a full-time student, not working.
You weren't working. And so you were living there and he was paying the expenses.
Yes.
And then you did what most moronic teenagers do when they try this thing, it doesn't work out. You broke the lease and then went and moved in with you. And you are here as a co-plaintiff because you want him to pay rent.
Yes.
See? Were they sleeping in the same room?
Yes.
Was it her room?
Yes.
Had it been her room when she was 19?
Well, we just moved in. We hadn't been living there.
It was the guest room.
So it was the guest room.
Oh.
It was
so
not my bed, my furniture, none of it was mine.
I don't care. It's irrelevant. If your daughter came home, where would she have slept?
In the guest room.
Okay, that's where she slept with her boyfriend?
Yes.
With your permission?
Yes.
Yeah, perfect. What article of clothing do you claim that he has that belongs to you?
He has a pair of jeans.
Pair of jeans. Do you have her jeans?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
I have a text that says he does have them.
You're not cuddling with her jeans at night, are you?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Minnick? Do you know where they are?
No, ma'am, I don't.
He doesn't know where they are. Now, let's get to the broken lease first. Broken lease cost, according to you, $1,990.
That's correct, Your Honor.
That's for the second apartment.
Yes.
To break the lease. And in whose name was the lease?
Both of ours.
Did anybody pay the $1,990?
I did, Your Honor.
Did you?
I did.
Did you pay anything?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Did anybody pay the $1,990?
I did, Your Honor.
Did you?
I did.
Did you pay anything?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I had taken myself off the lease. We both signed a paper that took my name off the lease and made me not liable for anything. And I have that copy here.
I don't care! You lived there with him. You went from that apartment to your mom's house. So you lived in that house. You slept with him in that house. Cuddled with your boyfriend in that house. What difference did it make if you took your name off the lease? He paid $2,000 to get you out of the lease because you weren't working and he was working and you couldn't afford the apartment. You're supposed to be an independent woman on your own so you can take care of yourself and not rely on somebody else to take care of you when you're 20. And if you don't, you stay home in your mother's house. He's not going to pay you any money. If you put in a security deposit of $500, I'll force you to pay half of what he paid if he can show me he paid $2,000 to break the lease. Do you understand?
Yes.
Grow up! Your case is dismissed. We're done.
What about my counterclaim? My counterclaim, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I'm happy with the decision. I don't really have too many complaints.
Well, she's my daughter.
I paid my half, she paid her half at the beginning.
Well, they couldn't afford it.
They had me doing a lot of stuff for them, kind of treated me like a slave.
We always got along, so.
There was a TV remote on the table. They'd be like, can you reach that? I'm right here, but can you reach it for me?
If the whole thing happened over, I wouldn't have let him move in.
Definitely going to wait it out. Not going to do it immediately.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Moyer versus Fowler. Step forward.
Jerry Moyer III is suing 23-year-old Yare Fowler for vandalizing his car outside a nightclub.
Mr. Moyer, it is your claim that the defendant owes you for purposely vandalizing his car.
Correct.
The defendant says that you actually owe him money for damage to his car when you backed into it in a parking lot.
Correct.
So let's start with, what was the date of this incident?
It was the 25th, the day after Thanksgiving.
What time?
Probably around 1 o'clock in the morning.
You were going to where?
We was going to the club. Me and my
You and your friend?
Yeah, me and my friend was going to the club.
And there's a parking lot?
No, it was a street.
Did you find a place to park in the street?
Yes.
Did you have to parallel park?
Yes.
And when you were parallel parking, you actually did hit Mr. Fowler's car.
I tapped his bumper.
You hit it?
Yes.
And it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and anywhere 1 o'clock in the morning, it's dark.
Yes.
So you got out of your car, and what did you do?
Me and my witness, we went and checked the car. Wasn't no damage.
And you left?
No, we didn't leave. We went inside the club.
Yes, I mean, you left the car and went inside the club to continue what you wanted to do. And when do you claim that Mr. Fowler vandalized your car? Because it was Mr. Fowler's car that you had hit before you went into the club.
Yes.
When do you claim that he had vandalized your car?
Well, when my witness came back into the club, yeah, I went outside to get some cigarettes out of my car. He came.
Yes. Don't tell me. Your witness is?
Derek Hartley.
Tell me what you saw when you came out of the club to get something from his car, from Mr. Moyer's car.
So I came out to the club to go get my cigarettes out the car. As I was walking across the club parking lot, I've witnessed the...
I thought it wasn't a parking lot. I thought it was...
No, the club parking lot. We went out to the street. I was going out to the street. As I was walking across the parking lot, I'm looking at the street right there. And that when I witnessed the defendant busting out his windows with a bat and somebody recording him doing it.
Now, you have, according to you, evidence of that because someone posted that on the internet.
Correct.
I'd like to see that.
He deleted the video. He deleted the video, then the next day, he had put a status up saying, I apologize for doing that to somebody's car, and I do have that status.
I'd like to see it.
I actually didn't judge at all. Do anything to his car when I left.
No, just a second. Okay. Why would you write this? I can't believe that I had to do that to someone's car last night for hitting my car. But you know I'm better than that, so I apologize to anyone that's seen me on live acting up.
Well.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who do you think broke all of the windows in the plaintiff's car?
I personally don't know when.
You think he parks his car, he hit your car?
I was actually physically in the car when he hit it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Jerry Moyer III says Yare Fowler smashed out the windows of his car outside a nightclub. Yare has a countersuit for damage to his car.
Okay, go ahead.
What he said was not correct. I actually didn't damage his car. It was actually my car that I actually damaged. So I actually have a picture of my window and all of that. So I didn't do anything to that man's car. I have proof and everything.
I can't believe that I had to do that to someone last night for hitting my car. So you're going to show me that you caused damage to your own car windows?
No, actually, when we got in a physical altercation with whoever his cousins or whoever they was, that's when my back window and all that had got broken
Can I see pictures of your car with the smashed windows? Do you have an estimate for the windows?
Yes.
Were you at the club that night?
Yes, I was. I was actually out, so.
What time did you arrive here?
At the club, I arrived at the club roughly 11 o'clock.
And you parallel parked?
Correct.
Who were you there at the club with?
I was actually with my witness, Marquet. It was actually his birthday.
When did you find out that someone had hit your car?
When we walked out of the club together, I noticed that my tire was slashed. When I noticed my tire was slashed, I actually called my ride. He called his ride as well, my witness. As we were both sitting there, basically, the defendant basically backed into my car.
Yes, he said he backed into your car.
Yes, during that time, I called my ride. He calls, my witness called his ride, and then that's when I pull out. When I pulled out, rolling out the window, the plaintiff hit my window, my car, the side.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by Real Cases, Real People. Judge Judy. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Okay, go ahead.
As I just started driving around the corner, noticed that the car was sitting there. As the car was sitting there, my plaintiff, when my witness, his right, actually comes to get him. And then after that is when I started taking pictures of the car as well. And I called the police and let them know that that was going on.
Mr. Fowler, who do you think broke all of the windows in the plaintiff's car?
I personally don't know when. When I left.
What do you think? You think he parks his car, he hit your car, he actually should have put a note on the car. I tapped your bumper. If there's any damage, contact me.
I was actually physically in the car when he hit it. And as well as I called the police.
Just a second. You just changed your story, Mr. Fowler. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,540. Your counterclaim's dismissed. We're done. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused and they step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Blamed for dirty politics in their union elections.
We were not trying to imply that they were stealing money.
This whole case is a very complicated one. It could take 6 months in another court.
Judge Judy.
When we got in the car, the defendant backed into my car.
Her decision was fair.
If I broke out his windows, the police would have never let me leave.
Any window you could find in the car was bust out.
Why would I sit there and wait the whole entire time if I broke out the windows?
When you do something wrong, you got to pay for it. And when you lie, you're going to get caught.
Next time when somebody get drunk and they want to go out, don't drive your car. Get an Uber.
It was police officers.
2 exes under one roof adds up to trouble.
The officer said, well, she said, you kicked her. I said, I didn't kick her. I didn't get close to her.
I would like to see the video that you took.
And these parents are reminded why they split.
I don't hear any kicking.
He's been abusing me for years, and he always gets away with it. Last time I moved, he called the police saying that I kidnapped him.
That's a lie.
Judge Judy.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. This is Judge Judy.
Christopher Duran is suing the mother of his 4 children, Maribel Reyes, for bail money after she had him falsely arrested for assault.
Order. All rise. Judge, this is case number 406 on the calendar in the matter of Duran versus Reyes.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Duran, your claim against the defendant is that she had you falsely arrested for assault.
Yes.
I'm going to start with you, Miss Reyes. You and Mr. Duran, according to the complaint and the answer that I've read, have children together.
Correct.
You've never been married to each other.
No.
How many children do you have?
Out of 8 children, I have 4 with him.
So you have 8 children. What
Correct.
are their ages?
It goes from 30 all the way to 15.
And how old are the children that you have with Mr. Duran?
21, 19, 16, and 15.
When was the last time that you and Mr. Duran lived together?
It was like about 10 years.
Now, Mr. Duran has some sort of a residence. Is this a multi-apartment complex, or is it a house that has several apartments? What is it, sir?
Yes, it's a house. It has an upper, lower level, and a rear unit.
Where do you live?
I live in downstairs, the lower level.
And Miss Reyes, where do you live?
Upstairs.
You also have tenants in that house.
Yes.
Where do they live?
In the rear portion of the unit.
How long have you had that tenant?
A year.
Does that tenant pay rent?
Yes.
How much?
$900 a month.
And how much money does Miss Reyes pay for rent?
She doesn't pay.
How long has she been living there?
She's been there for about 6, 7 years.
Is that correct so far? You've been living in the house for 6 or 7 years.
I don't remember moving. At all. I've been living there since...
For how long?
22 years.
Okay, so you've been living there 22 years.
Yes.
First with your 4 children.
Yes.
That he had nothing to do with.
Yes.
And then you had 4 children with him.
Yes, in that house.
When was the last time you and Mr. Duran lived together as a couple?
7 or 8 years ago. Yes.
Okay. And is it correct, Miss Reyes, that you have not paid rent in the last 7 years?
That's correct.
So he lets you live there rent-free, you and your children. That's either a yes or a no.
I don't think I have the obligation to be paying rent when the house is being cut up in 4 sections. And it's,
well, you have to pay rent someplace. You and your 8 children have to pay rent someplace.
I do understand that, ma'am.
All I'm asking you is a simple question. I'm trying to set the parameters of this case and to see whether he's a bad guy, whether he's a good guy, because what he's suing you for is having him falsely arrested and having him put in jail where he spent overnight and had to post bail. I'm trying to find out who you both are. So it would be a fair statement that Mr. Duran let you live in his house for 7 years and you paid no rent. That's either a yes or a no.
It's my house, ma'am.
Is it in your name?
No, but it's
then it's not your house. Do you work?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
For whom?
I'm a customer service for entertainment. Well, sports.
Do you work outside of the home or do you work from a phone inside the home?
I go to work.
What time do you go to work?
I have to be there at 5, so I leave at 4.
5 in the morning or 5 at night?
Afternoon. And sometimes I take a second job that it makes me come home at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
Just tell me, how many days a week?
That will be probably...
And I want to know the name of the company that you work for. I'm not finished yet. The name of the company that you work for.
I cannot address that, the company's name.
Why? Is it an illegal company?
It's just a sports event.
No, that's not an answer. If I ask a question, unless you're dealing in some sort of illicit thing, I want to know who you work for.
I did ask my company if I'm allowed to address it, and they said no.
I don't care what they said. I'm asking you who you work for. I want to be able to verify that you leave for work at 5 p.m. and come home at midnight.
Well, I work for that.
In which office?
In Los Angeles.
Okay. And do you have an annual salary?
Yes.
Yeah. Miss Reyes, just answer my question. You have an annual salary? You're paid by hour? How are you paid?
I get paid by hour.
How much an hour?
It will be $14.50.
Okay. And how long have you worked for this company at an hourly wage? How many?
11 years and a half.
And what's your average weekly paycheck?
It will be like $300.
And what kind of work do you do, Mr. Duran?
I just recently became a driver.
As a driver for whom?
ABM.
And what is your weekly take-home pay?
About $700 a week.
When did you purchase this house that you live in?
In 1996, in June.
Did you know Miss Reyes at the time?
Yes.
But you had no children together?
Correct.
Were you living together at the time?
No.
She was living in her own independent residence?
Yes.
When you purchased this house?
Yes.
So it was much later that she moved in?
Yes.
Is that correct?
That's wrong.
Now, you're supposed to, Miss Reyes, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yes.
There's a parking space for you to park your car in front of the house.
Correct.
And the driveway of the house is reserved for the tenant who lives in the back.
Yes.
In this place that you live at rent-free.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. By the way, who pays the gas, electric, heat for the whole house?
I pay for everything, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Miss Reyes? What do you pay for?
I pay for the food.
No, whose food?
My kids' food.
Just a second. You pay for your children's food.
Doctors. For the doctor
What
visits.
else?
I pay for their education, laptops.
What education?
They go to Santa Monica High School.
Well, Santa Monica High School is free.
I understand, but sometimes they ask for...
Let's move on.
Like my daughter's taking photographing, like pictures. I have to buy supplies. Okay. I pay for the grand nights.
So Mr. Duran takes care of all the household bills with the exception of food for you and your children?
Correct.
Okay. Not a bad deal.
That's what I do.
Not a bad deal. Now, you're not supposed to park in the driveway. So now we're going to move to an incident that happened on December 18th.
Correct.
On December 18th, Mr. Duran received a phone call from a tenant because you were parked in the driveway.
Correct.
Correct. And were you inside the car or outside the car?
I was inside the car, ma'am.
At all times on December 18th. Okay. How long had you been sitting in the driveway, Mr. Reyes?
About 15 minutes.
Miss Reyes, what were you doing in the car for 15 minutes?
I just came from school and I was just taking a little time out because I know if I go inside, I start looking at other stuff, start cleaning, start fixing or doing something else instead of studying. So that was like a little time out for me to study.
Who was inside?
Nobody was inside.
So you stayed in the car rather than to go inside and study, and there was nobody else in the house?
Yeah, but I just start cleaning up. That's just a habit of mine. Start like fixing,
all right, so now you're sitting in the driveway.
Yes.
And you tell me, you start to tell me what happened, so I'm going to believe it. You're sitting in the driveway studying.
Yes.
Because you don't want to go in an empty house where you'll get distracted by straightening up.
Correct.
And you're sitting in the driveway. Mm-hmm. Take it from there.
I was sitting in my driveway. I was studying. It was already 15 minutes when I heard a car just pulled up behind me. The whole entire driveway, from all the way to the back, all the way to the front, to the side, every corner, it was empty. So I figured, let me stay here since I'm going to pick up my kids in 20 or 30 minutes from the train station.
Just a second. So the tenant pulled up behind you?
Yes.
And you're not supposed to be in the driveway?
Well, anybody could be in the driveway.
You're not supposed to be in the driveway, so the tenant pulled up behind you. And what happened next?
Next thing, I seen that he was carrying some ropes or something.
The tenant got out of his car or truck?
Yes,
car. And he was carrying some ropes?
Yes. And as he was walking by, I told him, I didn't get off my car. I just asked him through my window, excuse me, do you want me to move? Because I should be picking up my kids in a couple of minutes. And he just didn't say a word, just kept on walking, ignored me, like he didn't hurt me or I don't know. He couldn't hear. I don't know what was his problem. So he passed again, I guess to pick up something else from the vehicle. And this time I opened my whole entire door. I mean, he had to move my door for him to be able to go through it, you know, so he could keep on walking towards the back. So I opened the whole door and I blocked him and I said, excuse me, do you want me to move? Because it's no problem.
Was he blocking you?
He was
blocking you.
Yeah, because he was
just
blocking.
A second. So this whole driveway where nobody else is parked and everything else is clear, he was blocking you from getting out.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Now we're getting it straight. So now you want me to understand that you opened the door and what you said to him was politely, would you like me to move?
Yes.
Not, would you move your car so I can get out? You said, would you like me to move? I want to know what you want me to believe.
Well,
what you want this face to believe.
Yeah, well, the reason I said that, because I figure since he's coming in and out, I figure he's going to leave. And, well, I mean, I had only 10 more minutes. By the time I had to go pick up my kids, it's not a big deal. But in case he was really finished for the rest of the day, I don't mind. I could go and leave already. But he kept on ignoring me, so he grabbed my door, he moved it, and he still passed through. And I said, okay, fine. I said, you know what? Let me get out of here. And he said, I will be outside in a minute. That minute took pretty long time. It took more 15 minutes.
So let me understand this. He was moving things from his truck to his property.
Only
to
twice.
His house. He was moving things, ropes and some other things that he was taking from his car. And because your car was parked closer to where he had to go further in order to get the stuff from his car into his house.
Correct.
Correct. So now you say to him, well, now I have to go. And he said, now you'll wait for me. I got it.
That was it.
You know, at my age, all you have to do is create the picture.
Correct.
I understand exactly what was going on. So does everybody else now.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said to me, it better be the first and the last time you ever park in this driveway.
You know, I don't believe that. You're making it up as you're moving along. They don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous. They keep me here because I'm smart.
It's Value City NJ's Big...
He says the mother of his children, Maribel Reyes, had him falsely arrested for kicking her.
Now, so you were making him go around you, because you're not supposed to be in the driveway, with stuff that he was carrying. And then when you said, move your car, I want to get out, he said, you'll have to wait, because I'm going in the back. And he took a long time to come out, so he made you wait. Mm-hmm. Right, got it.
Well, he made me wait.
What?
And he said to me, it better be the first and the last time you ever park in this driveway.
You know, I don't believe, you know something? I don't believe that.
Okay.
Because you didn't write it in your answer. You're making it up as you're moving along. Okay? So they don't keep me here because I'm gorgeous and young. They keep me here because I'm smart. Because I have a life's history. Because I know this situation and I got to know who the two of you are. Actually, so the tenant went inside and called the landlord, right? And you came over.
Yes.
Now I want you to tell me, now I'm shifting over to you. I want you to tell me exactly what happened when you came home.
As soon as I got there, I got my cell phone out and I started recording. As soon as I stepped out the car, she was on the phone talking. I said, you know, why are you parking here? And I was about maybe 10 feet from her. She didn't say anything, and I looked and I said, you can't park here. Why are you parking here? You're gonna have to park in the street. And I heard her on the phone calling the police saying that we're blocking her in, that she can't get out. And I said, you're making a false report. I moved out the car, and Jose was parked behind her. He moved out, and she left. I didn't hear anything for about 4 or 5 hours. 10 o'clock came around in the evening. There was banging on my door. It was police officers. And the police officers came in and said, oh, well, we're here because you had an argument with Maribel or something happened. I said, I didn't argue with her. I said, she had a problem yelling at the tenants. I showed them the video. I said, look, I have the video. And I was the one arguing with her or having anything to do with her. And then the officer said, well, she said, you kicked her. I said, I didn't kick her. I didn't get close to her. I said,
I want you to tell me when he kicked you.
He kicked me when he brought Jose from the back. And then he told him, you know, I guess I want you to move your car. I seen Jose going back. And when he went back, that's when he kicked me right here on the left side.
Did he kick you with which foot?
With his foot, with his right hip. Just
a second. He kicked you with his right leg. Show me where on your leg that he kicked you.
He kicked me right here. I had
on your thigh?
Yes.
Just a second.
Okay.
Did you say anything to him when he kicked you?
That's
either yes or no.
Yes.
What did you say? What did you say to him when he kicked you?
I said, this is stupid what you just did to me. And I just
so
went
you said,
in.
this is stupid.
What you just did to me. And I went straight to my vehicle and sat down in there until Mr. Jose came out like 2 or 3 minutes later, got in his car. Christopher Duran went to his vehicle, got in his car. Everybody moved. I left to the police station.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you moved back in 2012?
Yes, he forced me to.
Nobody forces you to do anything. I know 5 minutes and I know nobody forces you to do anything.
Real people. Judge Judy.
Christopher Duran says the mother of his children, Maribel Reyes, falsely accused him of assaulting her.
Has there ever been a time when you, other than December 18th of 2018, filed a police report against Mr. Duran?
Yes.
When?
It was in 2010, 2011.
2010 and 2011.
And another incident that it took, the most horrible incident ever. It took place on 2011 of May.
Just a second.
But I did a police report, but
no, I don't want to know about it. I asked you if you filed a police report, and you say you did in 2010.
Yes.
Did you also file one in 2011?
Correct.
Were you ever granted a restraining order against Mr.
Yes,
Duran?
I had
just a second. When? In what year?
In 2011.
In 2011, you and Mr. Duran were living in the same house?
No, my kids were taken in custody in foster home, and he's not supposed to be living in that house, and I'm not supposed to be living in the house. In the meanwhile, somebody else is taking care of all our young children.
Are you telling me that in 2011 you did not have custody of your children? Is that my... Maybe I'll make it easier for you.
Okay, they were taken away from both of us.
Okay, good. And you've been living in Mr. Duran's house since 2011, according to you.
I wasn't living there.
I thought you said
only
you were
that year.
So you moved back in 2012?
Yes, he forced me to.
Nobody forces you to do anything, Miss Reyes. I know you 5 minutes, and I know nobody forces you to do anything.
He tries his best to trying to
I think that you should get a second job and go pay rent someplace so that you don't have to live in his house.
I don't think that's right since I take care of my kids.
Just a second. It's not your house. It's his house.
It's
now,
my house.
I would like to see the video that you took. I just want to hear whether I hear anybody screaming because they were kicked. kind of car do you drive?
A Honda 2008 Element Black.
You can record. You cannot park in here for no more.
I don't hear any kicking.
Following the rules. You don't pay anything here.
I don't hear any kicking.
Well, he did.
I don't hear any kicking. I don't hear any screaming. I don't hear any. What happened? What did you do? Why did you do that? I don't hear any of that. I hear the car going away.
Yeah, but I came back.
Just a second. You mean you drove away and then came back?
Yes.
And is that when he kicked you?
Yes.
That's not what you told me a moment ago.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning sponsored by.
As with a victim of an assault, go to judgejudy.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Yeah, what you told me a moment ago was that when Mr. Jose went in the back and wasn't there, that's when he kicked you. That's what you told me 5 minutes ago.
No, that guy was still there.
That's what you just told me. I saw your car pull away. Listen to me. Pull away is now what you're telling me is your car pulled away and then you came back and then he kicked you. Because I didn't hear any kicking on here. Do you know what I'm saying to you?
I know what you're saying.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
He's been abusing me for years. And he always gets away with it.
Move!
I wish
Go
I could
find a place to move with your children and go away from him.
We have 50-50. Last time I moved, he called the police saying that I kidnapped him. He does anything for me just to...
That's a lie.
You know...
How much bail did you have to post, sir?
It was a $50,000 bond, and I had to pay 10% of that was $5,000.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. We're done.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
When you haven't paid the mortgage in 5 months, your house is going to be foreclosed.
Someone should have told his new roommate.
You were using our money to get the house out of foreclosure. Outrageous.
Judge Judy.
I think it was a great verdict.
I don't think it's fair.
I should have never been arrested.
I had a bruise. They took pictures, and they even measured the size of the bruise.
To get back at me, that's why she made the false report.
I'm the type of person I just don't cause problems.
I feel she's a big bully.
If it's a problem, I'll just walk away from that association for me not to get involved.
She wants to get her way, whatever it is, from anybody, and she'll do anything to get it.
In 2 years, I will have him all over 18. He can't control nobody no more.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Cronin versus Cronin. Step forward.
20-year-old Amber Cronin is suing her father, Trevor Cronin, for the return of money she paid for a car. Trevor is countersuing for transmission repairs, impound fees, and the unpaid balance on the vehicle.
Ms. Cronin, this is your dad?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then this is your complaint, that in September of 2013, you and your father went to some sort of an automobile auction. You were looking for a car, and he was looking for a car. You had saved up $980, which you had.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a car that you liked. Your dad saw a car that he liked. You decided to buy your car, which was an older model Mazda, and the price of that car was about $1,500.
That's correct.
You gave your father the $980 that you had, and you drove off the lot with your car, and he took his. Shortly thereafter, at some point, but shortly thereafter, the transmission blew on your car. And your father took it to his mechanic, according to him, to have it fixed, and he spent some money to have the car fixed. But when he took it, he had the paperwork in the car, and he had it registered in his name. So your allegation is that he took the car, and you're out your $980, and you don't have your car.
That's correct.
Okay. You want $980, which I think is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Your father is going to tell me why he doesn't think that that's reasonable. Because is that the story you would tell me?
Yes, although whenever we left the tow lot, he actually drove the car off of the lot. We didn't really just go our separate ways.
He drove your car, the Mazda, off the lot?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the transmission was messing up whenever we had drove off the lot.
So we didn't even get around the block.
And it went, okay. Now, Mr. Cronin, where is the car now? Don't look over there. Look here. Where is the car now?
It's at the airport.
Which airport?
MCI.
What is it doing there?
I drove it there to be able to come to here.
So you're driving the car?
Transmission works good now.
You're driving the car?
Yes.
And you're driving the car that your daughter gave you $980 for?
I'm driving the car that I gave my daughter $525
No, you didn't
for.
give her any money. You didn't give her any money. She gave you $900. She may not have given you the other $500. that you think she owes you, but you didn't give her any money.
I gave it to the tow lot that we got the car from,
You
yes.
gave it to the tow lot, and now you have the car.
Right.
You have the title.
It's coming in the mail.
But it's registered in your name.
It's registered in our name.
Why is it registered in both your names?
It was only supposed to be in mine originally.
Shh. Why is it registered in both your names?
Because her name was on the title, too.
Oh, so you had to register it in her name.
It is registered in her name also.
Very good. Then I'm going to make this very easy for you. You have to give your daughter $980. And do me a favor, if you're old enough to drive a car, go find one that you like yourself and don't have anything to do with him.
That's my plan.
About buying a car. I'm not telling you not to have anything to do with your father. But this is a very sad situation. You can't keep her $980, sir, and drive around in the car.
Well, she owes me money. She owes me money prior to that anyway.
Well, that's too bad. You can take the money that she owes you prior, sir. I'm not interested in it. I'm telling you that you can't take her $980 and keep the car. Now, I'm giving her $980. You're going to have to deal with her with regard to getting her name off the title. That's going to be your problem, getting her name off the title. How many children do you have?
4.
She the oldest, youngest?
Oldest.
Oldest. What do you do with yourself?
I go to school and I work. I'm a mom, too.
How old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20, so that's a lot of plate. And how old is your child?
She just turned 2.
Who do you live with?
I live by myself.
Just with your child?
Yes.
Okay. And where do you go to school?
Community college, where I live. I'm going for nursing. Right now I work as a nursing assistant.
Okay, and you need a car to get to work?
Absolutely.
Do you have a car?
I've been borrowing my boyfriend's.
Is your boyfriend the father of this child?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Her dad's incarcerated.
Well, don't rush into having another until you're all finished yourself, making yourself into a whole person.
Absolutely.
Great. Wonderful. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $980. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Why is your excuse when they step out?
She measured me up to the standards that she holds herself to.
I just didn't trust him, and I can't wait for months to be able to get my money back.
She's used to taking from me and not repaying me back.
I needed to get this settled now so I can get a car.
So she figured that I would do the same to her.
We've never really had a close relationship in the first place, so this is just kind of put the icing on top of the cake.
I'd really like to just hug it out.
No, I'm done.
Brown, this is your mother, and it is your claim that she asked you for some money. You took out a title loan on your car. The agreement was that she would pay back the monthly payments. She didn't do that. You've been doing it. You want your money. I don't know what your mother's defense is. She's looking at you sort of like this. So I'm going to start with her, as a matter of fact. Ms. Hunt, did there come a time when you were in some financial difficulty?
Yes, ma'am.
When was that?
Earlier this year, and I think it was around April. I get my months mixed up.
Well, don't get your months mixed up, because you knew you were coming to court today.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is what...
It was in, was it March? It was early part between March and April.
In 30 seconds, we've changed the months.
It's between the March or April. That's why I'm not really sure which month it was. I was complaining that I was having financial problems. And I asked my daughter, if she could help me.
What was the nature of your financial problems?
I had lost my job, and I...
Lost your job with whom?
Yes, ma'am. I had lost my job. I was behind.
Just a second. Listen.
I was working at Reggie's restaurant.
Miss Hunt, not going to be easy. In March or April, you had been working at Reggie's restaurant.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is located where?
At Fort Irwin, California.
How long had you been working for them?
I had been working for them for 4 years.
And in what month did you lose that job?
I lost that job earlier that year in February. But
earlier what year?
I lost that job in 2012, actually, and not February. Yeah, February, because I had went into the hospital. So I lost that job. Then I got another job.
You want to think about this case again? You want to discuss it with your mother?
I don't know. I know when we got the loan and stuff, ma'am. My months are mixed up because I'm...
No, we're talking years. We're not talking months.
No, that's when I lost that job. Then I lost a second job. I had 2 jobs within the time frame. I lost my second job earlier this year, and I had no money to pay my rent. I was behind 2 months in my rent. My landlord was about to kick me out, so I was asking for help. I had a car that was not running. I couldn't go out to look for a job that I needed. So I asked for help. And
listen, I know that you have a script in your head that you want to tell me. I have questions that I am going to ask you.
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to come around to my questions. You understand that, and then I'm going to start with you.
Yes,
Got it? Because I have to tell you, I'm really not getting a good feeling about this case.
I can't believe she's doing this.
I can't believe that I'm not getting a good feeling about this case.
I'm sorry.
So the place that you were working, that you lost your job before March, was not Reggie's, where you had worked for 4 years. It was another restaurant just before March, because you said your difficulties were March or April of this year. So from what year to what year did you work at Reggie's?
I worked at Reggie's from 2009 to 2012.
And where did you work after Reggie's?
I worked at the library after Reggie's.
Which library?
On Fort Irwin. Every job I have has been on Fort Irwin.
What kind of work did you do at the library?
I was a cashier. I was the librarian aide, rather. And then I lost that job.
How long did you work for them? From when to when?
I only worked from them from June.
June of what year?
June of last year to January of this year.
June of 2012 to January of 2013.
Yes, ma'am.
In January of 2013, who did you work for?
I didn't have a job for a while, and then I started working for Strike Zone.
Strike Zone is what?
A bowling alley.
In what month?
I started working for them in March. By that time, I was so far behind in everything.
Just a second. You started to work for Strike Zone in March.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you still working for them?
About 8 hours a week, ma'am.
Are you working for them now?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you say you had lost your job, that was inaccurate. You did not lose your job. You had a job starting in March of 2013, and you still are working for them.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Now I'm going to come to you. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a clerical administration.
For whom?
For the county of San Bernardino.
How long have you been working for the county?
I am on a temp basis. So
you're not a full-time employee?
I'm not
you
full-time.
Work temp?
I'm a temp.
And you work temp for a company?
Yes.
The name of the company that you temp for?
Apple One.
Is that a state-run company, or is that a private company?
I believe it's a private company.
What do you mean you believe?
I never asked.
Other than the work that you get for your temping, when you temp, do you have any other source of income?
I have a disabled child at home, so I receive SSI for him. I receive SSI.
How much do you receive in SSI?
A total of $1,503.
How old is that child?
He's 9.
Does he go to school?
Yes.
Does he go to regular school?
Yes.
What grade is he in?
4th.
Is he a full-time matriculated student?
No, he's not matriculated. He's in a special ESP class, special ed class.
Does he require any special care when he leaves school? Do you have somebody taking care of him when he leaves school?
Me.
Well, what happens when you're working?
My father does it.
And who does your father live with?
He lives with his wife.
And you don't live with them?
No.
Your father lived far away?
No.
Other than your temp work for the county and this $1,503, do you receive any other source of income?
I get county aid for the other 2 children because I have a child on SSI.
So you have 2 other children besides?
Yes.
And you get aid for those children?
Yes.
How much do you receive?
$491 in cash, and then the rest in food, and $300 in food stamps.
$491 for both children?
Yes. The other child was also on SSI. His SSI just got cut off in November.
So you had 2 children on SSI. How old is the other child on SSI?
He's 11, but he matriculated into regular schooling, so he's no longer receiving SSI. And I haven't put him on a case to receive county.
Go ahead, tell me your story.
Tell
me a story. Come on, I have 2 other cases to do. Let's go.
In May of this year, my mother called me, probably around the 2nd or 3rd of May, and she was crying, telling me that her unemployment back pay hasn't came in yet. She's not able to get to work right now, and she's having a really hard time. Her hours are getting cut, and if I would give her the money that I had put away for me and my kids' vacation that year, I said, I can't do that. I don't have that kind of money. She says, well, I need $3,000. I said, I don't have $3,000. No summer vacation costs $3,000. I don't have that kind of money. She says, well, didn't you pay off your car in February? I said, yes, I paid off my car in February. She says, would you take out a small title loan for me? I said, I would have to think about it.
I didn't ask.
I told her I would have to.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I told her I would have to think about it, and I would let her know. On May 8th, she called me and told me she's going to get evicted because she's not picking up enough hours. And she says, I just really need your help. As soon as I get my unemployment back pay, I will pay it completely off. I said, fine. I went to the place. I took out the title loan. And before I signed the paperwork, I called her and I told her, I said, are you sure you'll be able to pay it off because the interest is really high. And she said, as soon as I get the back pay from my unemployment, it's taken care of. No problem. I said, okay. I signed the paperwork. First payment comes due. I talked to her 2 or 3 days before the payment.
When did the first payment become due?
June 10th.
When was your 11-year-old taken off Social Security disability?
November.
Of what year?
2013.
So now?
Now.
Up until that time, you had been receiving how much for that child?
$753.
Okay. Keep going.
So I told her that, are you sure you can make these payments or what's going on? And she says, I'm still waiting on my unemployment back pay, but my next paycheck, I will send you something, but I don't think I'll be able to make the full first month's payment. I said, so what am I supposed to do with the rest of it? She says, well, just pay it for me. I'll get to it. Don't worry about it. You'll have it. I said, fine. I made the payment. Then the next month comes around. I talked to her at the beginning of that month, and I said, Mom, you know, the payment's due in 10 days. I still haven't gotten my unemployment, you know, with the backlog, with the federal, everything's all backed up. I haven't seen it.
All right, Ms. Hunt, tell me your side of the story, please.
First of all, I knew she had the money in the bank. Well, I assumed she had the money in the bank for her vacation. So that's why, you know, I didn't feel it was a loan. I figured since I've been babysitting for her and everything else, by the way, your dad didn't babysit as much as I did. And I thought maybe, you know, hey, Mom, she said she would make the first payment. And I said, okay, well, fine. That I considered it was a gift. Or it was back pay for whatever I was doing for her. I didn't think, you know, a loan. I can't even take care of me right now. How am I going to take care of a loan? I
don't know how
dare.
she's going to take care of it. Social Security disability for her second child. Your income was cut in the third. That means that maybe you'll have to go work a little harder other than at a temp agency.
I have surgery coming up.
You have what?
I said I'm not working right now.
Why not?
Because I have a hernia that needs surgery. So I'm not working right now.
Well, when was the last time you did work?
I worked in July.
For how many days?
I worked 6 weeks in July, so I worked until August.
And before that?
Before that, I worked in February.
So you worked in February and July?
Yes.
What did you do between February and July?
I went to school.
What school?
VVC.
For what?
I finished my associates in science.
If you finished your associates in science, why aren't you working?
Because I'm entering into the nursing program. I'm going to do a nursing program.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
LaShonda Brown says her mother, Johnny Hunt, owes for a car title loan she took out on her behalf.
Well, I honestly think that you two ladies should work this out yourselves. I think that if you have a mom who needs some help, you should help her. And I think that if she has some money coming in now, that she should help you. And I don't think that the court should be involved with it. Thank you very much. Case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was fair. I don't feel I owe her this money.
I know she took advantage of me.
I would never do that. I can't understand why she would feel that way.
Yeah, she went to Belize and she went to Vegas.
I didn't pay for the vacations.
I'm assuming the $3,000 I gave her.
Actually, I didn't. I have friends.
She told me that I should just pay for it and be happy about it.
I'm in a financial bind. I can't help her right now.
And everything that I have now is trying to keep my car.
I'm trying my best. I can't do it.
I hope she realizes she owes me that money and just gives me my money.
Isn't it always about money?
I barely talk to her.
Well, I hope me and my daughter can work it out and we can get back together. I mean, I miss my daughter.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Kelly versus Seals Dodd. Step forward.
Alice and Keith Kelly are suing Raven Seals and her brother Joe Dodd for the return of deposit money they put towards a car. The plaintiffs claim the vehicle blew up on the way to the mechanic.
Mr. and Mrs. Kelly, let me tell you that you have a legal problem because these are the facts of the case. You went to look for a car for your daughter who was 17. This young lady was selling her car. You went to look at it because you must have seen an ad for it someplace, right?
Yes, on Craigslist.
You went to these people, you looked at the car, your daughter liked the car. According to them, you even drove the car around the block. Is that true?
Correct.
And according to you, you said, well, we would like to take it to a mechanic. That's what your complaint says. Your complaint says that they said lots of people were looking at the car, so if you want it, you have to leave us a deposit. So according to you, you gave them $3,600 in cash, which was the amount that you agreed on towards the purchase of the car. So far, correct?
Correct.
And then you got into the car and you left.
Correct.
Without any paperwork.
Correct.
No paperwork.
That is not true.
You have paperwork?
She purchased the car.
Now, listen to me. Do you have paperwork?
Paperwork saying what?
A bill of sale is paperwork. Do you have a bill of sale?
Do you have a pink slip with you? No, they took the pink slip.
They took the pink slip. And you didn't keep a copy?
We have one, but we didn't bring it.
Well, you thought you were coming to the beach today?
Nope.
You get in the car with your daughter and you're driving home and the car blows up.
Yes.
Instead of taking the car back to them, you took the car to a mechanic and the mechanic said it's going to be $4,500 to fix the car. And so you treated the car as your own because you spent the $4,500 to fix the car, and now you're suing them for $4,500.
No, it wasn't actually like that. The car blew up on the freeway.
I don't care where it blew up. I don't care if it blew up on Pluto.
I contacted Joe. I have a text message showing that I contacted Joe. I actually tried to call him. He sent me back a text with a question mark, wondering what was going on. I said, we're on the side of the freeway. The car blew up. I'm going to have it towed. So the place I knew that was the closest place was Mel Rapton Honda. It was a Honda. So I'm like, let's just have it towed there. So it was towed there, and they looked at the car, and they said the head gaskets were blown. You're possibly going to have to replace the engine. They did not fix the car. The car sat there. I was trying to get in contact with Joe to get the money. I said, we don't want the car. It obviously has all these problems. You sold us according to your Craigslist ad.
Listen to me. Did you fix the car?
A week later. Because they did not contact us. We were trying to.
That's what I'm just saying to you. You fixed the car. I mean, you told the story. I gave you the Reader's Digest version. You gave me the novel version. Bottom line is you exercised control over the car, treated it as your car, and fixed it. Now, you could have sued them. I don't know whether you would have been successful because you usually buy a used car as is, but then the issue for me would have been different. The issue for me would have been whether or not there was a completed sale. But that's no longer the issue. You treated it as a completed sale because you took control of the car and brought it into a mechanic and had work done on a car. I mean, if I took Bird's car and took it in and said, you know, Bird has a red car. I don't like a red car. I like a green car. Paint it green. I don't like a green car. But if I liked a green car and I said, I'm exercising control of his property. So you're claiming there was never a completed sale. That's your case.
Correct.
And I'm telling you that by exercising control of the car, by taking it to a mechanic and having them work on it for $4,500 of money you spent on it, you treated that car as your own. And now you can't sue them.
But I feel like when we bought the car, we were
I don't care what you feel. What you feel, you take to Phil.
It was
what the law is. Come here. I've just told you what the law is.
We didn't sign a bill of sale and as is agreement with them, though.
These are excused and they step out.
We were sold a junk car.
It was fine when I drove. I don't understand, but, you know, I feel bad for them.
On the Craigslist ad, it also stated that they feel free to have your mechanic come and look. And I also asked them numerous times to go to Jiffy Lube and have them check everything out for free.
The car blew up on the freeway like 10 minutes after we bought it.
It was their choice to purchase the car without getting it checked out.
They breached the covenant of good faith and fair dealing. I mean, they said it was a great running car. I called them that day and said, hey, you know, we wanted our car back. We had to hold on to the car for like a week.
I told them to check everything, and I had patience, and I was there, and I was upfront with them from the jump.
It was for our youngest daughter who's going to go off to college, and now we put more money into the car than it was worth.
I am sorry, you know, to hear that. You know, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but at the same time, we're not shiesty type people. We wouldn't just, you know, try to get over or have somebody.
I guess.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Mancini versus Maynard Herrick step forward.
Paul Mancini is suing Sean Maynard and his girlfriend Melinda Herrick for damage to his car after their son ran into him with his bicycle.
Young man.
Great. Tell me your first name.
Devin.
Devin. On what date did you have this accident?
I don't know.
What date was it, sir?
August 29, 2013, approximately 2:39 p.m.
And Devin, this is your mother and father, yes. So they don't know anything because they weren't with you, right?
I know some. Yeah.
They know nothing because they weren't with you. They know only what you told them, right?
Yes.
You were riding your bike. Where were you going?
I was going to go across the street and catch up with my friends.
Okay, let's come over here so that I can hear you better. I like to be closer to you, Devin.
Okay.
First, I'm going to tell you, Devin, that whatever happens here today, this was an accident. was not an on purpose, right? Neither you nor Mr. Mancini planned on colliding that day. You were trying to catch up with your friends.
Right.
He was driving
Yes.
home to work.
I was taking my younger brother to San Luis Obispo to get his paycheck.
He was doing an errand with his younger brother, and neither of you were doing anything terrible. So I want you to understand that.
Right.
I also want you to understand that you are never going to get into trouble with me because this was an accident, right? Yeah. Unless you don't tell me the truth. That you understand, right? Yeah. Perfect.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mancini says 12-year-old Devin Maynard ran into him on his bicycle. He is suing for the damage to his car.
So the first thing that I like is that you said to me you were trying to catch up with your friends.
Right.
What had you been doing with your friends?
Actually, it was just right after school.
And you take your bike to school?
I used to.
Did you on that day?
Yeah.
And your friends also took their bikes to school?
No, they were like walking.
So just you had your bike?
Right.
How much before you were trying to catch up with them did they leave school? A minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, do you know?
We left around the same time.
So how come you got left behind and they were walking?
Because the road was like going up towards another road, and the other side was kind of hard to tell, but they were up a little bit more, and I was just coming down from a steep hill, so I had to slow down, and then I had to cross another street, and then right when they were up there, they were pretty far up the other road.
That is so much that I don't understand, Debbie. You were trying to catch them.
Right.
Did they go in a path that a bicycle couldn't go?
No.
So you could have followed them.
Right.
And you left school at the same time.
Right.
Now you came down a steep hill.
Right.
And I want you to tell me, after you came down the steep hill, what happened?
There was a driveway with the steep hill, and I stopped at the driveway, looked both ways, crossed the street, and then on the other side of the street, I went towards the highway, or the street, and I was trying to catch up. They were on this side, I was on this side. They were up here, and I was riding my bike to catch up. Right when I finally caught up, there was a turn. I stopped. They crossed the street over. I'd go this way and meet up over on the bridge. And I crossed the street, and what happened was there's like a bunch of traffic. And I looked both ways, and I was trying to cross. Then some man said, "Hey." I turned and looked, and that's when Mr. Mancini hit me.
Some man said, "Hey"?
Yes.
Mr. Mancini said, "Hey"?
No.
Somebody else?
Yes.
Just somebody else said, "Hey."
Yes.
Now, when they said, "Hey," who were they talking to?
Me.
To you?
Yes.
Had you passed this man?
What do you mean?
Was this man walking or in a car?
He was in a car.
I want you to walk over there.
Okay.
And I want you to point out to me where the man was who was in a car who said, "Hey."
Well, he'd be about...
Now, go on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're coming from where?
I'm coming from the school where that turn came, and then I was on the sidewalk.
You're on the sidewalk,
Yeah. My
right.
friends crossed the street about right here and started to go this way. So I went this way, and we were supposed to meet in this about area.
Who was supposed to be there, your friends?
Me and the friends. That's where we were supposed to meet.
Okay, so you wanted to meet up with your friends over there. They had already crossed the highway.
Right.
So you, just a second, Devin, let's get this clear. What you're telling me is you went out between parked cars.
No.
They were cars that were moving? That they were either moving or parked. You can't have it both ways, Devin.
Right.
Were they parked or were they moving?
They were parked.
They were stopped, so there was nobody in them.
Right. No. It was a highway, and then down the road there was a red light. There was a line of cars, and that's why they were stopped, and that's why they were there.
So they were stopped.
Right.
And so you went in between cars that were, in fact, in a moving car lane.
Right.
I want you to show me where the car was with the man who said, "Hey."
He was about right here.
Just a second. Point to the car where he was.
Right here.
That's right. He was in the car that you cut in front of.
Yes.
And he was saying, "Hey" to you.
Yes.
And you turned around to look at him.
Yes.
And then, when you turned around to look at him...
He just says, "Look out." And I...
No, you didn't say that.
No,
he said to you, "Hey." That's what you just told me here, Devin.
Right.
Remember what I told you before?
Yeah.
Don't make anything up.
No.
He said, hey. You said, I turned around to look at him, and that's when Mr. Mancini hit me.
Yes.
Now, when you say he hit you, did he hit you head on so that your bike went over, or did you hit his car with your bike?
He was passing, and there's more cars right here, and I was about to cross the street, and he hit my tire, which turned my tire to hit.
No, you hit his car. In the middle of his car.
Right.
Not in the front.
No.
He didn't hit you. You hit his car in the middle because you weren't looking where you were going.
Right.
Good. Nah, that's easy. Now you can go back there. Perfect. Now we're done. This was not a difficult case. See what happened? Got what happened. So, car was damaged,
Yes, ma'am, it was.
and you took his bike away from him so he doesn't bicycle to school anymore.
That's right.
Perfect page. Actually, all of us are on the same page. Even Devin, who tried to throw in a couple of little editorialized thoughts that he had over there. Okay. Can I have a picture of your car and an estimate to fix it?
I have the police report also, 3 photos and 2 estimates, but I'll just give you
Great.
the one estimate now.
We have 3 estimates, or you have
2 estimates.
I'd like to see both.
And the police report?
Yeah. Well, everybody sort of supports your ultimate story, Devin, including you, that you hit his car with the handlebars of your bike. And you said you didn't see the car, which was absolutely true because you were turning around, you weren't paying attention. And you're not supposed to be crossing there anyway, right?
Right.
Perfect. Lucky you weren't really hurt. And the police concluded that it was his fault. That's easy, okay? What's the age of your car, sir?
2000.
When did you purchase it?
2005.
You see if you can have it fixed for $600, Mr. Mancini. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. May step out.
He's being greedy. He wanted to get paid cash.
He talked about it.
I offered to pay him cash numerous times. He denied it.
But once I went and got an estimate and found out...
He didn't want to sign a check or a document to show proof that I paid him in full.
What it's going to cost, that his estimate for giving me...
And he kept wanting cash.
Money outside the courtroom. I couldn't fix it for that.
So many occasions to the point to where I couldn't pay him anymore.
And at that time, the defendant said, oh, he's just making up these estimates on his own.
You can't trust people.
Even though they're on the company letterheads and like everything else.
Unfortunately, yeah. Some people just aren't a man of their word.
Seated, sir. Have a seat.
How are you related to each other?
We're brothers.
And each of you had a dog.
Yeah.
You wanted both dogs trained as protection dogs.
Correct. Protection
right?
and obedience.
What kind of dog did you have? You are Mr.?
Mr. Hyder. Yeah, I had a all-black German Shepherd.
How old?
He was approaching a year at that.
At him?
Got him from a breeder in North Carolina.
You have the papers on him?
Yeah, I have the papers.
And you, Mr. Hussein?
I got a Rottweiler, and he's about 2 years old now.
Why did you decide to have the 2-year-old trained?
Just because he needed some obedience work, a little bit of protection work too.
What kind of obedience work?
You know, sit, stay, lay down.
The basics?
Stuff. Mm-hmm.
Housebroken, or was it an outside dog?
No, he's an outside dog.
When the owner of a Shih Tzu hears obedience train, what goes into their mind is, that's a carpet.
Right.
Outside is outside.
Right.
You know, sit, stay is way beyond what we want.
Right.
They don't listen. So that's why I asked you when you say obedience trained, what did you mean?
Well, I mean, basically, you know, he jumps around a lot and, you know, he just does goofy things.
He
and we just need him trained.
And he's too big to think he's a lap dog.
Exactly, that's why, yeah.
But you wanted yours trained for more obedience and protection.
Correct, yeah.
In any event, you found the defendant who was a trainer of dogs.
Yes.
And the idea was the dogs would go to stay with him for a period of time. How long?
30 days.
How did you find Mr. Ford?
Mr. Ford was a customer of ours. We own a dog supplement company, and he was using the products on his dogs. We also have a performance horse supplement he was using on his horses. So my brother knew him for a while before we dealt with him in terms of, like, you know, training the dogs.
So you had confidence in his ability to do this and give your pets over to him for 30 days.
Right.
Whose dog was lost?
That was my dog.
So that's what your lawsuit is about. You gave him a dog.
Yeah.
Your year-old German Shepherd.
Correct.
And never got it back.
Correct.
And you, Mr. Hussein, got your dog back. You say not trained.
Right.
And You, in fact, paid Mr. Ford how much?
I gave him $600 up front, and the other $1,900 later. I gave him cash.
And you?
I gave him a $500 deposit, and then when my dog didn't come back, I didn't give him the rest.
Okay. Now, Mr. Ford, did Mr. Hadir give you a $500 deposit?
No, ma'am. All I received was $600 as a down payment, and I was supposed to get $1,900 when we were done.
I want you to listen to my question. If you weren't so busy in your own head, you would listen to my question. I said, did Mr. Hadir give you a $500 deposit?
No, ma'am.
Did Mr. Hussein give you a $600 deposit?
No, ma'am.
Where did you get the $600 from?
They gave me $200 when we first got the dogs, and then Mr. Ali gave me $400 later, like a couple weeks later. They didn't give me no $600, and I did not receive no $1,100.
Just a second. Somebody gave you $600.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what happened to Mr. Hadir's dog?
We had some dogs get out, or somebody.
Okay. So you had some dogs get out of
I'm
where?
going to explain. Out of the kennels. Somebody let the dogs.
So you have kennels.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you say some dogs got out, on what date did they get out?
Right about at the last of their training. So we were at the end of the 30 days.
Did you notify Mr. Hadir on the same date that the dog
Yes, ma'am.
escaped?
There's a situation here, and I have to be able to explain it all. His dog.
I'm trying to find out the date. Since you don't remember the date, my question to you was, did you notify the dog's owner the same day you lost the dog?
I did not lose the dog.
You did lose the dog, sir. You lost the dog. Whether you lost the dog as a result of negligence, whether you lost the dog as a result of something you failed to do and it was gross negligence, it's really not relevant. The dog was lost to its owner while in your care, so that you lost the dog. All I'm trying to do is find out the date. Since you don't know the date, I'm asking you whether you notified Mr. Day the dog was lost.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Mr. Hadir, do you recall on what date Mr. Ford called you to tell you that your dog was gone?
He never called me. He didn't even directly tell me that the dog was missing. I believe he told my brother. My brother told me, and then I texted him because he wasn't answering phone calls, and I said, my dog's missing, and I'm finding out now.
Just a second. Mr. Hussein, do you remember on what date you had a conversation with Mr. Ford?
We dropped the dogs off, I think, on August 20th, and after 2 weeks after that, whatever the date is, 2 weeks after that, is when I called him, but he never told me that the dog was lost or missing, and basically we found out a different way that the dog was lost.
How did you find out?
We contacted one of his buddies to ask him, you know, how the training's going, because we had a suspicion that something had happened to the dog.
Why did you have a suspicion?
He wasn't returning any phone calls, wasn't returning any texts, and was giving us, like, you know, ridiculous answers to things.
Where was he giving you the ridiculous answers?
On text messages. We have them all. We have
I'd like to take a look at them.
Okay.
We couldn't print them out because the phone broke, but you can view them on the phone. Is that fine?
I don't know if you could show Bird how to do that. He has to do it for me.
Sure.
Because
He had a really
I'm
big story,
illiterate.
too. He had a really big story, you know, explaining everything, but none of it added up. He told us that a rescue group broke into his property, let all the dogs loose, and they found a finger that belonged to some girl, and that he had fed choppers chasing. It was ridiculous. So we said, okay, well, where's the police report since this all happened? He never had one. We asked him, like, probably 10 times on these text messages, where's the police report? You know, because we wanted to believe him, but he never was able to produce one.
Forget it, Bird. I got it all from Mr. Hussein. Mr. Hussein, on what date did he return your dog?
What was the exact date? Do you remember?
Ma'am, I can give you the exact date now. Okay.
What date?
The dogs were dropped off August 20th, and actually it was September 18th when the dogs got out. It was September 18th that I notified Mr. Ali because I didn't have Mr. Hader's phone number. So we notified Mr. Ali. The dogs are out. Don't know the situation, but we're trying to get these dogs out. When you got protection dogs running around a neighborhood, you don't want to just be sitting there talking on the phone with somebody.
Mr. Ford, listen to me carefully. All I want to see is on the 18th of September, uncross your hands. On the 18th of September, did you report the dogs missing to the local Humane Society?
Yes, ma'am.
Show me.
They said it takes...
No, don't tell me what they said. If you're coming here without evidence, sir, that's not my fault. On the 18th of September, did you put up flyers?
No, ma'am.
On the 18th of September, did you notify the police?
No, ma'am.
Well, what did you do On the 18th of September?
On the 18th of September, when we discovered that the dogs were gone, we took a couple of tracking dogs out and tracked a lot of the dogs down. We saw Mr. Hader's dog like 4 or 5 times. He would not let us get as close to him. They text me saying, do you want us to come help? I said, that's fine, because it is your dog. He'll probably come to you a lot easier than he will me.
Show me the text on the 18th.
I don't even have the texts on my phone. I have a new phone. Since then, my phone went in the water.
You owe him the money for his dog. You lost his dog on your watch.
But, ma'am,
you lost his dog on your watch.
His dog ate out of the cage.
I don't care. That's your problem. You should have a cage that prevents him from doing that. You don't understand, Mr. Ford. This is not a very difficult legal question.
But
I didn't even have. But watch me. You don't have to be a legal scholar like I am to even figure out the answer to this question. You assumed the responsibility for his dog. Listen to me carefully. You assumed the responsibility for his dog when, for money, you agreed to train. Listen, Mr. Ford, do you have a girlfriend, wife, somebody in your life? She may let you do that. I don't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And his brother Ali Hussein say dog trainer Kevin Ford owes for the return of his fee. Kevin is countersuing for the unpaid portion of his fee.
You train dogs. I don't. I wouldn't know how to train dogs. So I wouldn't presume to tell you how to train dogs, because you would say to me, what do you know how to train dogs? You have to be smart enough, Mr. Ford, to say, you know, I really didn't think that I was responsible because his dog, according to your answer, was an escape artist and ate out of the kennel, and therefore I'm not responsible. So I'm trying to explain to you, because I'm a nice person, Bird will attest the fact that I'm a nice person, that you are legally responsible. You may not like it, you may not understand it. I'm trying to explain it to you, but in your mind, you're saying, I'm not listening to that. That's windshield wiper. I don't like, she's not agreeing with me. I'm going to tell. You are legally responsible. It's just like if you drive, I assume, you put your car in a parking lot. Somebody came in, stole your car. It's got to be somebody's fault. Well, sure, it's the thief's fault. If you had parked your car out on the street, then you say, well, it's the thief's fault. Who am I going to sue? The street? I can't sue the street. But if you park your car in a place where you've paid money so that your car is in a secure environment, parking lot is owned by ABC Parking Company. They're responsible for your car. He gave you his dog. His dog could be a progeny of Harry Houdini. It wouldn't make any difference. You are responsible for his dog. This is not a two-way discussion. I'm telling you what the law is.
Okay, I just want to ask about the law. So when you go park your car and you pay money and they give you that ticket, and on that ticket it says we're not responsible for anything that could happen to your vehicle, theft, damage, break-in, whatever.
Show me your ticket you gave him.
Ma'am,
show me your ticket that you gave him when you took control of his dog. I just answered your question. Now, the only thing that we have to deal with in this case is your lawsuit, Mr. Hussein, because you say your dog came back and you weren't satisfied with its training.
Right.
I don't care.
Okay.
You know, I send my dog out to be trained. They see that your dog is going to be potty trained by the time we get the dog back. Okay. Get the dog back, dog is still pooping on the carpet. You know what? My dog's a stupid dog. I don't get my money back. Maybe your dog was stupid. Maybe your dog was too old. Maybe your dog was two. And it says, you know what? I've been jumping up and down like I was a Jack Russell Terrier and I'm a Rottweiler. And at the age of 2 or 3, they're not going to train me differently because the damage has already been done.
Okay.
So you picked the trainer. You weren't satisfied with it, but he took your dog for 30 days. You're not getting your money back.
Okay.
But, Mr. Hadir, you are.
All right.
Good. So let's find out. How much did you pay for the dog?
I paid $48.65, but I put down $4,500 because that's what I paid for the dog, but then the shipping and the crate fee.
John, judgment for the plaintiff. That would be you, $48.65. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you.
That's it. You count the plaintiff. Come on.
Excuse me, step out.
He represented himself as a DEA dog trainer.
Because there's some lying mother.
He presented all sorts of stuff, so we We figured I'm a legitimate guy.
They came in here lying.
I just never thought that someone would do something like that. You never think like that.
Don't do favors from call themselves your friend.
Now I'm down my dog. The money's one thing, but the dog, I'm never going to find him.
And you may be seated.
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Ellis, you decided to go into an arrangement with the defendants. They're cousins by marriage of yours, sir. Decided to go in to buy a house together. And you all moved in together and set up a joint account to pay all the monthly household bills. And then there was some sort of savings account that was opened up. Opened up in 4 names or 2?
4.
4 names. According to what you told me in your complaint, the situation didn't work out with the defendants. And at some point, you evicted them from the house.
Yes.
And you closed the joint bank account.
Yes.
According to you, what you didn't do was close the joint savings account. And according to your complaint, at least, you notified the bank that you wanted to go paperless in the savings account so that you would not be receiving statements from the savings account. That's what you tell me. You then, according to you, a year later, a year after they weren't in the house anymore, you put in $5,000 into the savings account. When you checked the account a week later, all the money was gone. The Alloways, they don't deny they took the money from that account.
That was me. My wife wasn't, she didn't have knowledge at that point that I did that.
Well, I don't know what you did with the money, but you...
Sure.
So you took the money out of the account.
Yes.
And Mr. and Mrs. Ellis want their money back.
Yes.
And I'm not quite sure of what your defense is, except that when I read your answer, that you can demonstrate that when you went into this house venture with them, you put in $2,500 into the savings account.
Yes.
Well, even if that were true, that wouldn't account for you taking out $5,000.
We have other costs that add up to...
I don't care what your other costs are.
Okay.
You mean as far as being evicted and other stuff?
Well, right, that is...
Inspector fees.
Inspector fees for the house that
I don't care.
we pay for.
I don't care about that.
Okay.
That involves a lawsuit. That involves if you wanted to sue them a year ago for whatever fees you had, you sue them a year ago. And they evicted you. You take that up with the judge who handled the eviction process if you had a claim. So first I want you to show me the bank statement of the savings account. How much money was in it before July 24th, 2013? And then I want you to show me, as long as Officer Byrd is there, because I don't want him to exercise too much today. He usually doesn't like to run back and forth. So I'd like you to show me the second piece of paper, which would be proof of your deposit of $5,000 on July 24th. Well, you had no money in this account. Why all of a sudden did you start putting money into this account, and when?
We were traveling, and that's why we went paperless, and we didn't have any money to deposit into that account at that point. But he took money out of his annuity when we got back to Spokane, paid off some debt, and put the rest in saving.
Show me.
He's got it.
This is this? So why all of a sudden did you start to use this account when you had another account? This was a savings account. Then you had a checking account if you were traveling to pay your bills, right? And you were using what other account? And I'm asking you, sir, what other account were you using?
Your Honor, we were using our checking account to pay, the regular bills out of our checking account.
Right.
When I received that money, I put it into savings, thinking that that's our savings there. And I was under the assumption that when we had closed that account, they did all the accounts, the savings and the checking. So when we got back, we didn't see that they were still attached to that account. It just shows us. And so I was under the assumption that's our savings account. Nobody else could get into it. And then we looked at the statements later when the bank pulled them up, and it showed that they changed the address, so they get statements.
Got it. Now, Mr. Alloway, strike that. Mrs. Alloway, when did the address change? I'm asking you a question. When did the address change from the address where you had formerly lived with your cousins to your current address?
My address changed.
No, the address on this account. When did the address on that account change?
It didn't change.
It did change.
Shh.
As far as I know.
So what you're telling me was this
I
account.
never received anything.
Is that have their address on it? I'd like to take a look at it. Is what you're telling me, Mrs. Alloway, that you were unaware that someone had the address from the address where you had been living with the plaintiffs,
right,
from where you were evicted, to your new address on this savings account that was opened up as a joint account,
correct,
to East Congress Avenue, which is, I assume, your address. Is that your address?
That is my address.
So someone had to have changed the address to your address, look at me, to your address after the account was opened. Are you a relatively intelligent person?
I'm a relatively intelligent person,
so I want you to follow my question.
I want what I have to say is I don't know anything about it.
Just a second. Oh, I don't buy that.
You don't?
No. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions that a relatively intelligent person would be able to answer. If I open an account at 1 Union Street with 4 people, and subsequently the people that are all had lived at 1 Union Street, only some of them live there. The other people move and they live at 10 Union Street. And all of the records of the bank are now sent to 10 Union Street. Would you, as a relatively intelligent person, say that someone would have had to notify the bank to send the statements to 10 Union Street?
No.
Would a relatively intelligent person say that the bank ferry didn't make up a street? The bank ferry didn't make up a house address? The people who live at 1 Union Street wouldn't tell the bank to send the statements to 10 Union Street? Wouldn't a relatively intelligent person deduce that?
I have never seen a statement for
well,
the
here you
savings
go. We're
account.
going to show you one.
Then
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you one. I'm going to show you one. Don't speak to her. Is that your address?
Yes, it is.
And is that the address? Look at me. And is that the address that you moved to after you were evicted?
I went back to my home, yes, of 18 years.
Just a second. Just answer my question. Is that the address?
Yes, it is.
Good. May I have that back, please?
I also have a checking account at the same bank.
Well, you don't have a checking account with Mr. and Mrs. Ellis, do you?
I do
not. So if
I have no idea why that's on there.
Listen, you have an idea. You know exactly why it's on here. You may not want to acknowledge exactly why it's on here, but your husband knows that he changed the address. Your husband knows that he changed that address on the savings account to your address. And what he was trying to tell me before so that I would lay off of you is my wife didn't know anything that I was doing. That's what he was trying to tell me before. I did it, and she had no knowledge of what I was doing. So that's what he tried to tell me earlier. And so what he was trying to say to me is, despite being before 10 million people, he has no problem putting you in this position. What he's going to do is make up a lot of excuses to me. Now, what he said was, in his answer, and the only thing that I'm interested in is that Bonnie wrote a check for $2,500 to start the savings account dedicated to the house. So what I want to see is Bonnie's check for $2,500 to account number 4142.
And that you won't see.
Yeah, we don't. That statement wasn't really correct when we had initial
discussion.
Bonnie wrote a check in this statement. I mean, I have people who work for me. They don't make things up. You know, they may be a little bit high-spirited and high-strung, but none of them are psychotic. So they wouldn't have made up a statement. Bonnie wrote a check for $2,500 to start savings account dedicated to the house. Do you have that check?
I don't have a check for $2,500.
So you don't have the check for $2,500, which is actually, with all the other paper nonsense that you brought here, the one thing that you would have brought if you did have it. And it was only a year ago, so it's very easy to get if Bonnie had written it to start the account. Now, how dare you take money out of an account that you knew did not belong to you?
It says here that it does belong to me.
What do you mean it says there that it does belong to you?
The same contract that we all signed to open the account.
Are you being serious with me?
That's what the bank manager told me.
Are you being serious with me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Claim Kathleen's cousin, Bonnie Alloway, and her husband, Gary, stole money from a joint bank account. The defendants are countersuing for moving costs and medical bills.
Let me ask you a question. I mean, you know, if I look in my bank account that has $100 in it, and I see that I now have $100,000 in it, do you think that if I wrote out a check for $90,000, cashed it, went to Vegas, had myself a party, how far do you think I would get with the bank if I said, here's my name, Judith Scheindlin, said that this is how much money I had in the account, so I took it out. My name was on the account, and therefore it's my money. The bank would say to me, what are you, crazy? And the feds would say to me, what are you, nuts? And they would say, you want your hands cuffed in the front or the back? What's more comfortable for you? So you knew the money wasn't yours. You knew that you and your wife didn't put it in there. You knew that they did put it in there. And you knew that when you took it out, it wasn't yours. That, sir, is stealing. Stealing, which is what you did. And I'm actually surprised that nobody prosecuted you for it.
We wanted our money back.
Stealing. You're a thief. You want your money back? Go to a court. You go
If it wasn't monetary,
court.
I wanted my wife to, she could never feel better, but money doesn't mean a thing. When it comes to my wife,
Let me tell you something, sir. Let me tell you something. Go to a psychiatrist if you want your wife to feel better.
Psychiatrist?
If you want your wife to feel better, so you became a thief?
She was pushed into a door. She suffered extreme amounts of pain.
Go to court. That's what courts are for. If your wife suffered injury, if your wife was disrespected, if you have an issue with the plaintiffs, that's what courts are for dispute resolution. You don't resolve the dispute by becoming a felon. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Kathy pushed me.
I had my hand on her back.
In a place that she knew I had 3.
We were not arguing.
Vertebrae that were out of place.
And she stopped abruptly.
She put her hands exactly on that spot.
She turned to me and said,
she knew what she was doing.
Listen, if you ever touch me again, I'll slit your throat.
And I'll never forgive you for that.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Johnson versus Howard. Step forward.
Lynn Marie Johnson is suing her daughter, Alicia Howard, for unpaid babysitting fees and lost wages.
How many children do you have, Miss Johnson?
I have 4.
How old are they?
Alicia, who is 26, Christopher is 23, 18-year-old Shayla, and 14-year-old Marlon Brewer.
This is your daughter, and she has 2 children?
I have 1 child.
1 child?
Yes.
And how old is that child?
She's 6.
Do you have any other grandchildren?
No, I do not.
What do you do for a living, Miss Howard?
As of right now, I'm not working, but I just finished Brentford Hall.
When was the last time that you worked on a full-time basis?
About 1.5 years ago.
Do you go to school?
Yes, I just finished school.
And what do you do for a living?
I just got off with laryngitis, so excuse me. I also been in the nursing field for 20 years, and now I'm back in school.
So you're in school?
Yes, I am, and working part-time.
All wonderful. Now, this is your 26-year-old daughter. You are suing her for $5,000 for the following reason. You say that you babysat for your granddaughter, your only grandchild, and your daughter was supposed to fill out paperwork so that you could get paid by the state for taking care of your grandchild. She didn't do it or didn't do it right. You did, in fact, babysit for your granddaughter, and because the state didn't pay her, you want her to pay you.
That's not how it went. How it went is the fact that we both sat there and filled out the paperwork together. And it did get sent to them. Then it got sent back to us. And I told her that she didn't finish filling out certain parts of it. This is DSS. I've never dealt with DSS. Never been on it in my life. Okay? So I asked her to come over so we could get this done because I had bills. I had a job waiting for me that I did not take.
Just a second. I want you to know, where do you think she's going to get $5,000 to pay you?
When she does the paperwork, she can get it from them. She needs to do it some kind of way. How am I going to pay my bills? I had a job that I didn't take to help her out.
Where do you think she's going to get $5,000 to pay you?
The same place she gets it from when she buys all her wigs out. But I can't sit up there and not have no money. And I had bills to pay, and I had to go borrow just to stay ahead. I gave her my apartment. I moved into a more expensive apartment so she got a place to live. Okay? Because she was homeless. She knew that I needed that money. So that should have been one of her priorities, to make sure that that paperwork was done correctly so I could get paid. I don't have no money from nobody else.
It's not a lawsuit. It's a mother saying to her daughter, you should have filled out the paperwork right. It's not a lawsuit.
You don't think so? You don't think that nobody should pay me for everything that I lost for 4 months? I think that's very wrong.
If you didn't want to take care of your
granddaughter, I know I'm a grandmother, but I'm not a volunteer. I need to work to get paid.
Then you should have done that.
Yeah, and I thought I was doing it by helping her out and getting paid from the welfare.
Your daughter didn't fill out the paperwork right. It's not a lawsuit.
You know what? This is the third time this has happened to me, and it's the very last.
Fine.
Because, you know,
that's good.
I feel that somebody should be giving me my money.
Well, we're not going to do it.
Shoot.
We're not going to do it.
Yeah,
you watched your granddaughter, your only grandchild.
That's fine and dandy. That's fine and dandy.
Believe me.
Nothing in life
Believe
for
me.
free. Nothing in life is free. And I definitely am not free. I have bills to pay.
Good, then you should get a job.
Here's the difference between being a grandmother and babysitting on the weekend and doing it from 7:30 to 3:30 every day. There is a big difference.
Then you should have filled out the paperwork.
I did.
You should have filled out. You should have filled it out better. Can't help you. That's all.
And you forgery, whatever.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She took advantage of me to no end, and this is the third time she's done this to me.
I'm so upset because, you know, my mother's been like this since I can remember.
She's doing what she always does. That fake crying, lying to me.
She's evil. She doesn't care.
Fake.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lawson versus Perez. Step forward.
Jennifer Lawson is suing her fiancé's son, Brandon Perez, for a loan to pay restitution after he was arrested for grand theft. Brandon says he never asked for the money.
Mr. Perez, I'm going to start with you, sir. Miss Lawson is your father's fiancée.
Right.
How long have you known her?
What, a year or so?
Voice up. Speak up. You hear me?
A year or so.
How old are you?
30.
What were you convicted of?
Grand theft.
Grand theft what? What did you steal?
Appliances from a house.
Appliances. Did you have a trial?
Yeah. I got convicted. I got convicted.
After a trial?
Yeah.
In what year did you get convicted?
2012.
Did you go to jail?
Yeah.
For how long?
A month.
Well, were you in jail before the trial?
Yeah. They picked me up on a warrant.
And after you were convicted, you were sentenced.
Right.
What was your sentence, Mr. Perez?
They just gave me a month.
No, they didn't just give you a month. Look at me.
I am looking at you.
Your whole sentence. What was your sentence?
I only did a month.
That's what you did in jail. What was the rest of your sentence? Right!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Jennifer Lawson is suing her fiancé's son, Brandon Perez, for a loan to pay restitution after he was arrested for grand theft. Brandon says he never asked for the money.
That was your sentence.
All right.
Restitution. Now, what does that mean to you, Mr. Perez, restitution?
Pay back the victim from the charge.
Pay back the victim that you stole from. That's what restitution is. That was part of your sentence. A month in jail was part of your sentence, and restitution was part of your sentence. Do you understand?
Right.
Now do I make myself clear? Now, I'm going to try to make this logical for you, Mr. Perez, so that you can understand it and everybody can understand it. We don't live in a country where you can say to someone else, like let's say, you know, Officer Byrd is a very nice guy. He's got a big heart and a do-gooder personality. But if you said to Officer Byrd, you know what, I would like you to do the month for me because I have things that I want to do. Officer Byrd would say, what are you, crazy? That's not the kind of country we live in. If you get to go to jail, you don't get to pay somebody else to go to jail for you. Otherwise, Bernie Madoff would find somebody really poor and say, I'll give you $10 million and do my 35 years for me. Do you understand? We don't live in that kind of country. That's why they have the expression, if you do the crime, you do the time, right? Everybody, rich and poor, the same. The same is true for restitution. Restitution is part of your sentence. And if Miss Lawson paid your restitution, it's no different from Miss Lawson doing the month for you.
There was no verbal agreement on anything. On me paying it back.
Dumb as a bucket of rocks. He was going to use that line. We didn't have no verbal agreement on nothing. No written contract, no nothing. You're not paying attention to me, Mr. Perez. Didn't anything that I say ring a bell to you? Didn't anything move around in your brain? Do you understand? If Miss Lawson pays your restitution, that was part of your sentence. It would be no different if you said, Miss Lawson, yeah, I know your father loves me and I love my father and he loves you and you love him, therefore you have to love me. Could you do the month for me? I have things I want to do. You want to give me the line again? We didn't have nothing in writing?
I never asked for anything.
Perfect. Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,800. That's what it was, wasn't it?
It
Thank
was.
you. Goodbye. Don't give him any more money.
Thank you.
Not smart enough to know what to do with it.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I got nothing to say.
We hadn't heard from him at Christmas, so Christmas Day we went over there to find out what was wrong. She told us he was in jail.
I'm hurt because the way my son treated me and my fiance.
He called her, and we were there, and he asked for the money.
I just feel that this taught him a lesson, to be honest, and pay what you owe.
It wasn't so much even about the money as it was about him learning that lesson, and apparently it went over his head.
I don't have nothing to say.
Lesson learned.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2164, Ritter versus McNally Klingenberg.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ritter, you own a piece of property.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And it's a residential piece of property?
That is correct.
And you use it as a business?
That is correct.
I would assume that this is your tenant.
That is correct.
Perfect. Could you stand up next to Mr. Ritter? What is your last name?
Mason.
Mason. These are your neighbors across the street?
Yes.
I live side by side.
So you're side by side, not across the street?
I live across the street.
Now, there came a time, Miss Mason, that you heard something that was unusual. Can you describe what you saw?
I was startled by the sound of a big thud and my dog freaking out and ran to the window. And so I jumped up, ran to the window where the dog as well was running toward, and looked out the window and seen the truck that had just hit the air conditioning unit.
Could you describe the truck?
A white truck pickup.
How'd you see
the young lady beside him, friend across the street?
Klingenberg.
Yes.
When you looked outside, what did you see the truck do next?
As I looked out the window and made eye contact, I seen...
With her?
Yes, I seen Jeff at the back end of the truck, right by the AC unit, kind of backing her off a little bit, kind of gave her a raised hand.
So he was out there as well?
Yes, positioned behind the truck.
What did you do?
Well, I jumped up and then I ran and actually grabbed my phone to take pictures because I did not want to be responsible for what had just happened to the air conditioning unit. As I could tell, it had been moved and hit.
Do you have those photographs?
I did send those to Bob. He has pictures of those.
Kevin? Yes. Want to get them?
I immediately texted Bob as well, letting him know.
So that day, the 20th of August, you went, took photographs of the truck?
Yes, ma'am, and the yard and the air conditioning unit.
McNally?
Yes, Your Honor.
Where had you been camping?
We were camping in a place called McCall, Idaho.
Aside from you and Miss Klingenberg, who were there?
My son.
See how easy this is? It's going to get easier. Do you understand? Okay. Now, is this your girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay. Now we got that clear. This is your girlfriend. You and your girlfriend were camping. Your son was with you. And what you were doing that day was you were trying to unload the truck with the camping gear, correct?
Correct.
Is the camping gear heavy?
Yes.
So somebody was driving the truck and somebody was schlepping the stuff out of the truck to put it away, right?
Correct.
Now, Mr. McNally, you don't want me to believe that either you, or stand up, or this guy were just twiddling your thumbs and you backed up the truck so that you left Miss Clee unchivalrous, right?
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So when you were first confronted with this, you said, oh, my girlfriend wasn't driving, right?
Right.
So let's get it straight now, because that's what you wrote here in your answer. Oh, my girlfriend wasn't driving, my son was driving. That's not true. I don't know why you would choose to say my son was driving, not my girlfriend, unless she doesn't have a driver's license, because otherwise there'd be no difference whether your truck was being driven by you or your son or your girlfriend. Do you understand? No difference. Your truck being driven with you around hit his air conditioning unit. So what difference does it make? You have a driver's license?
I do not.
There you go. Perfect.
I was not driving, Your Honor.
Yes, you were. Yes, you were. You were driving, and he says you were. You see, and you have a driver's license?
Yes.
Yes. But how did I know you didn't? Where do you think I got that from? I got that from common sense, because Mr. McNally doesn't look like a stupid man. And there would be really no difference if he drove the car, you drove the car, the son drove the car, his car caused damage. But in order to perhaps have insurance cover it, if he had insurance on the truck, do you?
My insurance had actually lapsed.
What? Okay. So it really didn't make any difference. If you had no insurance, you could have said she was driving. But didn't think that far. Okay, so that's why we're here. We're here because you let an unlicensed driver drive your truck that was uninsured that you took on a camping trip. Is this coming together for me?
It's close.
So now we got that straight, right? The next thing we have to take care of are the damages. I see that the outer part of this air conditioning unit was definitely hit. Now, he was driving, damaged the mechanism of the air conditioner because you replaced the unit and you want him to be responsible for the unit, right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
I have to see a photograph because I don't have this photograph of the inside of this. I just have the photograph of the cover.
I do not have the inside, but I do have from two HVAC companies that did go out to service it. One that did the replacement, the other that came out second opinion, as Jeff had asked us to do, which we did.
Okay, I'd like to see it.
This will be the second, and this is the actual invoice for payment.
Oh, this is the second opinion. This says second opinion call, lipstick on it. That's the guts of it. This says immediate repair, replace condenser coil and damaged panels, $39.61.
Correct.
Replacing the unit instead may be an option to consider. And to do the whole job, what did he want, $5,000?
The other side, $34.50 to replace the identical unit.
Okay, and to repair
it was less money to replace it.
than to repair.
Correct.
Okay. Do you understand that now?
I do.
Okay.
Thank you, Your
So,
Honor.
based upon your request, he got a second opinion. Second opinion was for more money to repair. He chose the lesser of the two, which is to replace the unit. The ball is in your court, sir.
Garrett was actually driving.
I don't believe it. You've had some time to reprocess it all. You would have had the boy, that's what you raised them for, strong boys. You wouldn't have said, well, you just sit in the car.
Claims homeowners Jeff McNally and Angela Klingenberg owe for property damage after hitting his air conditioner.
Your car, uninsured as the damage is on your truck, sir. There's a picture of your truck here. You want to see it? Or you don't have to see it. You'd be better off just saying, you know what? I don't have the money. You'd be better off just saying, because we started out wrong, you and I, Mr. McNally. And the wrong started off was claimed his son was driving, even though Regina clearly saw his girlfriend. Okay, so that was a fib here.
Actually, Your Honor, if I may, there was just one front seat, a bent seat, and she was sitting in the middle, and Garrett was actually driving.
I don't believe it, sir. You've had some time to reprocess it all. That's not true. She was driving because if you were unloading the truck, you would have had the boy. That's what you raised them for. Strong boys. Your eyes. Perfect. Thank you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,800. It's not a good idea, Mr. McNally, to show your son that it's the right thing to do, not to tell the truth. That's a very good lesson that parents should teach their children right from the get-go. And accepting responsibility for what was clearly an accident. I mean, she didn't mean to back into his air conditioner, right?
Right.
It happened. It was an accident. That's why they don't call it an on purpose. It was an accident. But once you have an accident, you have to accept responsibility. That's what you want to teach him. And if he lifts his hair, he'll be able to see and be able to hear better. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
We were all sitting in the front of the bench seat, so I was in the middle, and I think when she initially came out, she saw me sitting in the truck, but maybe she assumed I was sitting in the driver's seat, but I wasn't.
Nope, my vision was great that day. It did make me jump, and my dog was freaking out, so I definitely knew something hit the house.
I told him that my son and I were emptying firewood.
That case was a great demonstration of how being well prepared and doing the right thing can make the justice system work for you in the right way. He had all of his evidence laid out exactly how he needed to present it to you, and he had the damage evidence, he had the photographs, and he did the right thing. He didn't try and get a whole new unit for the $5,000. He said, I'll get the 2 estimates if that's what you want me to do. So it just shows how being prepared and having all your ducks in a row can really benefit you when you come into a court system.
But my problem was telling the lie after you've sworn to tell the truth in front of his son, because those things remain embedded in your children. You want to be a good parent. The first thing you have to teach your children is to be honest. And if he sees that his father and the father's girlfriend are dishonest, that will become part of his fabric. Yeah. That's a mistake. So,
fundraiser.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2119, Crane versus Crane.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, Miss Crane, this is a very sad case. This is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
And I don't know how many children that you have, but I know that you had a son who was in medical school, who was, how old, 25 years old?
30.
30. Sounds as if he was a popular young man. He was in an outing with friends, and sadly, he drowned.
Yes, he did.
And that happened, just a second, and that happened when?
That happened July 29th of this year.
This is what the case is about. His friends, in his memory, started a GoFundMe page.
Correct.
And there is approximately $40,000 in that GoFundMe page.
There was, yes.
I said approximately.
Yes.
There was. And your daughter is, for want of a better word, in charge of that Facebook page GoFundMe proceeds.
Correct.
And it is your claim that as the next of kin, because he died without a will, you are entitled to some or all of that Facebook page.
It doesn't even matter about the GoFundMe funds. I mean, that would be nice in a perfect world, but my daughter took everything from the day chance to be Josh's mom for the last time. I didn't get to empty his apartment.
I can't cure that, madam.
No.
I can't cure that.
No.
And you can't put any sort of a value on anything that your daughter might have taken from that apartment because you don't know what was there.
Correct.
So I can't help you with that. In a perfect world, maybe she would have gone with you to the apartment, but she didn't.
Correct.
Based upon what I read, you were not there during the search for your son or the discovery of his body. Is that correct?
I was at home.
Okay. And your daughter was there?
Yes, she was.
And I assume that you were close to your brother?
Absolutely close to my brother.
Just curious, what prevented you? You were notified that your son was missing. What prevented you from going there?
My daughter was at the house the day Josh went missing, and we had my car torn apart. She left after they called her, and I definitely would have hitched a ride, but I didn't have a vehicle.
Your Honor, I got...
Just a second. Did you say she was at your house?
Yes, she was.
Well, then why didn't you go with her?
They'd have to go home, and she got a call from Search and Rescue. I hadn't been answering my phone.
Oh, well, that's a different story. You hadn't been answering your phone. It wasn't as if nobody called you.
No, she didn't call.
It wasn't as if nobody called you. Did somebody call you?
Right, from Search and Rescue, yes.
Somebody called you?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Crane, this is your problem. If your son passed away without a will, and I'm sure that somebody else, maybe a professional has told you that, a legal professional has told you that, if your son passed away without a will, depending upon the laws in your jurisdiction, you, as his parent, might be construed as next of kin, and any property that he owned at the time of his death would transfer to you.
Right, correct, yes.
He didn't own the GoFundMe page at the time he died.
No, he did not.
So you don't get it.
Okay.
Any part of it.
Okay.
Your Honor,
The
she already
people-
received funds from the GoFundMe as well.
Just the people that set up the GoFundMe page, I assume, were classmates of your brothers?
Yes, they were his other fourth-year medical students that had reached out to me and asked if they could...
Don't tell me what they asked you. They set up a GoFundMe page. Do you have the paperwork for the GoFundMe page? I'd like to see it. $39,287.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything that is in writing that makes you either the beneficiary of...
The organizer of...
Would you do me a favor, look it up?
Underneath the photo.
It does say that I am the beneficiary listed on there.
Thank you. You're Jessica.
I am.
Okay. Is organizing this fundraiser on behalf of Jessica Crane.
Mm-hmm.
That's her.
That has changed. Initially, it was for Joshua Crane, and with the legal
Just show me.
It's never been for...
Show me, just a second. Mrs. Crane.
Yes.
It wouldn't make any difference, but I'm willing to look at something that originally it was on behalf of somebody else.
The reason I'm here today is not because of the GoFundMe.
Your Honor, that's exactly why she's
Just-
here. It's the
just-
money. It's always been about the money.
All right, how are you going to pay the note on a $14,000 truck?
I plan on returning to work. This incident has...
His GoFundMe fundraiser.
This is your complaint. I'm suing the defendant, Jessica Crane, in the amount of $10,000 for my portion of my deceased son's GoFundMe account and personal items, including my son's guitars and his vehicle.
Correct.
Okay. Now you're not looking for his GoFundMe account.
I never really was, because I never knew the law on GoFundMe. I tried to find out and speak to someone about it and get legal advice, and I could never find anyone.
Well, it's very easy. He didn't own this property while he was alive, so you have no title to it. If they said that they're starting a GoFundMe page in the name of your son to be for the benefit of animal rescue, you wouldn't have any control over that.
No, it was meant for his funeral costs.
Just a second.
Which I also paid
It says,
for,
just
Your
a
Honor.
second, on behalf of Jessica Crane.
Right.
On behalf of Jessica Crane, just for my own curiosity, I'd like to know. Your son was buried at some point?
He was cremated.
He was cremated.
And I have the receipts. I paid for his obituary, his cremation.
Okay, so what I'm asking you is, there were no serious funeral costs.
I got everything donated on my funeral.
That's not true as
Just a second. I'm asking you, Mrs. Crane, did you pay anything for your son's funeral?
No.
Okay. That sometimes happens. It's human nature. You feel so badly about something. You want to do something. And probably the easiest thing to do is to raise money. And the easiest thing for probably these people who are in their 20s and 30s is to start a GoFundMe page. I mean, it just would seem to me if they wanted to do a scholarship for him at the school, if they wanted to do something else. This is for those people out there who are watching, who are GoFundMe people. I've seen some of the more ridiculous ones, you know, and there are good-natured people out there who see these things and will donate $5 and $10. Oh, my goodness, they need funeral costs. Well, in this case, there were no issues, and almost all this money, $40,000, is left. What are you going to do with it?
So there's a couple things that I planned on doing with it. It's why the money has been sitting in account.
I just want the people who donated this money to know what you're going to do with it. It's not for you to buy anything for yourself.
Your Honor.
That would be ridiculous. That's not what was in their minds. So I want to know who I'm dealing with.
Your Honor, after all of Josh's for my brother, and I was going to donate a portion of that money back if UC Davis decides to set that up on his behalf. And then I also wanted to set up scholarship funds for my sons, who my brother was very close with.
So what you're telling me is you're going to give a little to UC Davis for a scholarship in his name, and you're going to use some for your two sons for their education.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really not what it was intended to do. I'm just telling you. It was not what it was intended to do.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's how GoFundMes are set up. People can set them up for an intended purpose, and they're used for anything.
But I'm just telling the people out there, before you spend money on a GoFundMe page, make sure it's going to go to a place where you want it to go and for the intended purpose you want it, which is to somehow celebrate the life of this young man that was cut short so tragically. And it would seem to me, Miss Crane, you don't have to do anything because they made you the beneficiary of this money. But it would seem to me that a stand-up person would take whatever is left of that and create a scholarship in his name at UC Davis, which is where he went to school. I can't order you to do that, but I'm just telling you, and everybody else out there, make sure if you have a good heart and a good spirit, you know where your money is going. Okay, so you're not entitled to any of the money. Now, did you take your brother's guitars?
I cleared out my brother's entire apartment.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just answer.
Yes, very
Would you
much
like
so.
one of your son's guitars? Do you have any of your son's guitars?
None.
Your Honor, my mom has a long history of substance abuse. She's bought gifts for me in the past, and she's pawned them off. And I would like to keep them in my family, so that's where they stay. So that's why I have possession of them, because I don't want them going to a pawn shop.
I was told I could visit one of my son's guitars at her home.
Just a second, do you play guitar?
No. I just want it because it's my son's, and I bought 3 of his guitars for him.
None of these guitars were purchased by her. They're very expensive guitars. My brother purchased.
I can't order her to do anything. I'm just asking her whether she would give you one of the guitars. And she said no. The next thing we have here is a vehicle. Now, tell me about the vehicle.
So Josh didn't have a lot. He was a 4th-year medical student. He has a truck, a Toyota, a 2019 Toyota Tacoma, that he still owes about $14,000 on. I have that here, $13,841.76 on. And his keys. So we brought the truck up to where we live in Northern California, took the truck up there, and it's been kept in storage until this is all sorted out. I personally wanted to keep the truck. I have the means to finance the truck in my name. I have the means to make a payment. She does not have the means to make a payment. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a driver's license. She can't provide insurance for it. I mean, she has driving.
That's not particularly relevant. There's $14,000 left on it. Are you employed?
I was until
just to say, the answer is either yes or no. Are you employed?
No.
All right, how are you going to pay the note on a $14,000 truck?
I plan on returning to work. This incident has taken my job, believe it or not.
Actually, I don't believe it.
Your Honor, I work 3 jobs.
Just a second. Actually, I don't believe it.
Okay.
So the answer is, if you can't afford to make the payments on this truck, and the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to be repossessed by the bank. Have you been making payments on the truck?
I have not made a payment.
Who is the finance company?
Credit union.
Where is the truck currently stored? Give me the address.
I don't have an exact address.
Ann Lynn claims her daughter, Jessica Crane, is wrongfully keeping her son's property and money from his GoFundMe fundraiser.
I want to see the paperwork on the loan. Okay. Sarah, when we finish with this case, call credit union, advise them who has the truck, let them go repossess the truck. We're finished here. Your case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I had an addiction problem, and she's just angry. She's angry at me, and I've tried to make amends. I've tried to get this better, and she won't have it. My daughter got away with taking absolutely everything, and she wasn't entitled to it.
I think that if there's any lesson to be taken away, aside from the fact that you're not supposed to fight, when you lose somebody so young and so vital, the one innocent party is the credit union who loaned him the money to buy the truck. She's been hiding the truck now for 5 months, hasn't made a payment on it. The right thing to do is for her to turn that truck into the credit union, because I can't control that, except that I can advise the credit union where she is, who she is, that she has possession of the truck, and they should go and repossess it. Anyway, it's all very sad.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một chú chó đang ngậm một cành hoa nhé. Chúng ta cùng bắt đầu thôi nào. Mình sẽ tô hoa màu này. Đây là màu đỏ son. Mình tông màu xanh. Chú cho mình sẽ tông màu nâu.